someone just drew a bat person. Yeah. Like that was the laziest fucking thing they could do.
Yeah, well...
It's like a bat person. Fuck, here you go. Is this what you're thinking of? No.
Iceman was just like... he's just like a snowman. Like, basically, like, okay.
Or an albino.
Yeah, he's all white. You're like, okay, I guess.
He's an albino, and they're like, but I'm not a mutant. Yes, you are.
Hello and welcome to the Pens and Pixels podcast. I'm your host, Cal G, and to my left is the coordinator extraordinaire.
Mike Kent.
The podcast is the place to come to if you want to hear about the art and news of video games, comics, and movies that week.
And pop culture.
All but this week.
Yeah.
And last week. Because this week we're going to be going down our favorite movies of 2016.
And our anticipated of 2017.
Precisely. This was a good year for movies.
It was a really good year. Like, for us, games sucked this year.
Yeah. There was I know, like, a lot of people enjoyed a lot of the games that came out this year, but for us, personally, it wasn't, like, the greatest year. Although we got Final Fantasy 15, which we're both enjoying.
Yeah.
But movie-wise, I thought we got looking back at my list that I made there, I was like, there's a lot of fantastic stuff that came out.
Yeah. Really, really great stuff. Just beyond the superhero movie franchise stuff, too, we had not bad horrors, a couple of really good ones. Yeah. I like Lights Out, you didn't.
Yep.
Conjuring 2.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
thriller.
Thriller, yeah. I'm not really put it in the horror category exactly, but...
No, but it's an extraordinary movie. And then sci-fi, we've gotten some really good stuff. The Arrival.
Arrival was really good.
Yeah. We got another one in there, but we have a list. But we'll go down. So there's been some really interesting work that's come out this year, and it's also nice to see because I felt like 2015 was just the year of the superhero.
Yeah, well, I mean, every year is like the big tentpoles feels like for the last little while have been superhero.
Yeah, but like last year was like that huge peak where like that was it. It was just like everything else was.
We got Ex Machina last year.
Yeah. Which was a really good movie, but like in the way that like The Arrival came out, and then everyone saw that and they're all like, my brain's been fucked, like sci-fi or like Ex Machina. Everyone was like, that was deep, like it resonates, it's good, but it didn't like shock and awe us if we're still going.
Yeah, that was weird. Why'd that happen? Oh well. Okay, so without further ado, Mike, let's start our. What are we gonna do? Top fives?
We can just list out the best. I mean, we're missing out on.
I'm certainly gonna have some honorable mentions as well, and some disappointments. I think we should go down.
Yeah.
Actually, do you want to start with disappointments? Start it off with a bang.
Sure. Because
Batman vs Superman was real bad. Let's talk about them as a whole. Actually, let's talk about Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Yeah. DC continuing to what's the opposite of knocking out of the park? Failing to hit a bunt, like they hit, they hit their bat out to get a bunt, and it just like hits the bat and just goes right in front of the pitcher, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Is that called a ball? Or
we're not sports people. This is a terrible analogy for me to use.
They're dropping a turd in the toilet and they didn't flush it.
Yes, DC did not have a strong year, no. And still is kind of crazy. You can call Man of Steel their best movie when that is a movie that most people do not like. I think that's it's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it has a lot of strengths. Much more strengths than the ones that came afterwards.
So we saw, and we have a whole cast on podcast on how much we disliked that movie after we saw it together.
Yeah, so Batman vs Superman, there's a spoiler cast if you want to go back and hear us fucking tear it apart.
Yeah. So we clearly didn't like that one. We won't hit it on again here since we've done a whole spoiler cast. Did I see Suicide Squad?
I thought you did. No?
Maybe, if I did, I've blocked it from my memory.
So Suicide Squad, I personally think was better than Batman vs Superman. Everyone else thought it was like way worse, which is surprising to me. I thought Suicide Squad was closer to telling a cohesive story, all from point A to point B. Like I just thought like you could grasp what was going on. There wasn't a lot of convoluted, weird scenes where you're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen?
Some people are.
What are the motivations? Like that's the thing. Batman vs Superman, there were so many muddled like motivations and characters and just like useless scenes. I
hear the other way around though. More often is
no. Suicide Squad is like. They're bad people. They were taken into a team to go accomplish a task. They end up doing the task. Yeah. Like, they did it. That is a coherent story. Batman vs. Superman's like, well, why are they angry at each other? And why does Lex Luthor hate him? And what about this? And this scene? Why was there a pea jar? And the fucking, everything was just... Why is he, like, foaming at the mouth at the end of the movie? Like, in the bars? He's like, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, is Darkseid taking you over? Or are you, what... Terrible. I just felt a lot more confused. Like, whereas, I just feel like Suicide Squad was closer to being like a real movie. Yeah. Whereas, like, Batman vs Superman was like this poorly edited mess. Not that, again, Suicide Squad wasn't like fantastic by any means, but I just feel like it was closer to being like something you would call a film.
I guess some people really stand by Batman vs Superman, which I find funny. There's a few people out there who are like, and even reviewers and people of like, you know, who come to like talk about a film in a correct fashion, and they're like, "Nah, everyone's wrong." Like, some people really stand by that film.
Yeah, and look, and I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, people just want to hate DC and they want to love Marvel and stuff. And I look back at the Batman Begins trilogy. Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises to a lesser extent, but still. That trilogy was heralded as like one of the greatest superhero movies ever.
Yeah, even Tim Burton's original first Batman. I still love that movie.
Yeah, totally.
It was cute. And I love... oh god, I just lost it. Batman Begins. Is that the one with Catwoman and?
No. Batman Begins was the Nolan trilogy.
Oh right, so
you're talking about Batman Returns.
Batman Returns.
Yeah.
With because that Catwoman still is one of the best Catwoman. Well, I really liked Anne Hathaway's.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So they're both really good, but that Catwoman was excellent, and
I honestly don't see how you could look at like those movies as like Batman or Superman fan and be like, yeah, they nailed it. You know, like it's shocking to me that people are standing by it as like this was entertaining.
What, the original Batman?
No, Batman vs Superman.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I can't believe people are like I truly believe it's not. It is really a poor movie, like just overall. Oh, I think there are strong parts to it. Like I think Batman, aside from him killing people, was like pretty good representation.
Well, I mean, like his action stuff was a good representation.
Yes, he had like 2 good action scenes.
Yeah, and I didn't hate Batfleck.
No, me neither.
Yeah. Like, his Bruce Wayne, still not what I like. Like, I didn't like the Bruce Wayne segments. I was just like, oh my god, you know, go back to your whatever wife you have now, Fleck.
Jennifer Garner, I believe.
Yeah. But, you know, I wasn't, like, detesting everything he did. But, yeah, he had some moments. But even then... The problem with that movie, again, is just like you said, too many disconjointed parts all tossed together with no cohesive message.
None of it felt coherent. No. And also when you have the fight, like, you know how they're going to have Godzilla versus King Kong? I feel
kind of responsible for your hatred of that movie more, because you walked out of it and you were like, huh, that wasn't great, but I kind of had a good time.
Yeah,
and then I was like, no, you hate this movie because... and then I went down the list and you were like, fuck, I didn't think about all that. All that made me so mad. I hate all this shit. And then you started thinking about it more, and every time I came over, you were like, I was thinking about what you said. I fucking hate that movie.
Literally, as months went on, I started getting harder and harder on it. And then like, I'm at the point now, I'm like, what a fucking terrible failure of a movie. Yeah. No, it was just bad. Again, the more I ruminate on it, and like I had a similar thing. I remember when I first saw Spider-Man 3 in theaters. I saw the midnight showing with one of my friends, and we came out and we like didn't say anything. And like I was driving him home, and I was like, and he's like, man, that was bad. I was like, no, that's a different interpretation. Like I refused to like believe it was bad until like the week later, and I was like, oh man, still like that really wasn't good. No. Like, I really wanted to love it though because Venom was in it, and like, oh.
No, I never made it through the full film the first time I ever watched that. I watched all the way up until the stupid dance street scene, turned it off. I was watching that with like 5 or 6 other people, and we were all like, boo, and literally just turned it off and threw popcorn at the screen. I watched it again, got through that scene, got to... I forget what, but every single time I got to another one of those bad moments.
The Sandman scene's pretty good. I'm going to say, like, Sandman turning into Sandman's pretty good. And I don't know if you saw this far, but when Spidey has the black suit and he's fighting Sandman underground, pretty good.
I saw the whole thing finally to the end.
Okay,
like,
yeah. Okay.
Just like it took 6 tries of constantly getting to the next thing where I'm like, fuck, and then.
But like the weird James Franco snowboarder Green Goblin shit, terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
Venom, pretty bad the entire way through. Yeah. Like not the Venom I wanted to see on screen. Yeah. So now this is a kind of Spider-Man 3. But yeah, it was like in that realm of like badness, and I thought Suicide Squad was at least had some entertaining moments.
My point is, though, is fairness that Marvel has had that whole entire period where we hated everything. We hated Daredevil, we hated Elektra, we hated Ghost Rider, we hated the Spider-Man movies eventually. We started hating the X-Men movies, right? Mm-hmm. It was only Kevin Feige and the cinematic universe that turned it around. And
really, Iron Man 1 turned it around finally.
But that was the thing, is that DC hasn't accomplished any of that because they're rushing. Like they were like Batman vs Superman, cinematic universe in one movie, and you're like, they did this over 10 years. Like you can't do it in 3 hours.
From Iron Man to Avengers, that was what, 4 years?
5 or more.
It was 4 or 5. Yeah. Like it had to be a while.
It was a while.
And yeah, like, it's just, they didn't establish the Batman, and you have to assume all this stuff about him, which in and of itself isn't a terrible idea, because, like, you know, trying to read into Batman's backstory isn't, like, a bad thing. You're like, you're like, okay, the Joker maybe murdered, you know, Robin. Then we have this fucking Joker who's terrible. Actually, okay, again, Jared Leto, what he did with the Joker was, like, serviceable.
Yeah.
I don't like the Joker visually, and I still do want to see how they play off each other, Batfleck and Leto Joker, but
I don't know. It is the debate.
Part of me hopes that, like, you know, in after one of these movies becomes good, I'm fingers crossed for Wonder Woman. I do kind of hope they're like, Batfleck's like, the fake Joker died, and it's like shows just like Jared Leto's body like floating in like just like in the sea. But now the real Joker's on the loose, you know, like, or something.
No, he keeps it a trophy in his Batcave. It's just Jared Leto in a tank, just floating there, being like Joker breaks in. He's like, that's what you could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And it just has like lines written that Jared Leto said when he was offset, like on the tank and shit. Like all the stupid fucking moronic things he said. Anyways, okay, so those were two big disappointing movies. I apologize if you like them, and more power to you. Obviously, these are just opinions.
This is my closer on the whole point. Is that now that I just had his name? Oh my god, Jeff Johns is taking over the DC Cinematic Universe. They're finally doing the staggered steps and copying, in which they need to do is copy Marvel's format because it clearly works. Is they're starting to do the staggered things. So they're like, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Justice League, Cyborg, Flash.
Although we're getting Wonder Woman and then we're getting Justice League, I believe.
Yeah, I know, but the schedule's already been out, and Johns can't change the release schedule.
No,
so he's going to work around what he's got, but they are starting to stagger out the releases.
That's the thing. So he came in very late production on Suicide Squad. I doubt he had barely any input on that movie.
Oh, he probably just showed up and was like, "Wow." Put his hands up in the air and just walked out the door.
That's a mess in there.
That's just going to happen. We just got to pretend it happened.
We got to plow forward. Don't look back.
He just goes into his trailer and sticks his head into the pillow. And he's like, Jeff, are you coming out? Not until 8 months more. 8 months.
I don't even know how much of an imprint he could have had on Wonder Woman, like, personally, because he's...
Just his face down. He's like, is it done yet? Have they forgotten?
Show me the trailer for Wonder Woman. Okay, it actually looks... Okay. He's like he's holding back tears.
Yeah, he's like, it's okay. Everything's fine.
Okay, another one that I want to say was quite disappointing was Blair Witch. Really didn't enjoy that one too much until the very, very last, like, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was disappointed that didn't turn out better. I was kind of really hoping...
Did you end up seeing it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, it wasn't very good.
I was really hoping that would have turned out to be... I mean, I knew it was going to suck after you saw it, and if you don't like a horror movie, that means it's bad.
That, again, not always true, because I didn't super care for Lights Out. Don't hate Lights Out. Didn't care.
No, but you were, like, we were, as per normal, when it comes down to horror movies, like, Jed's like, I'm going to watch a horror movie, and then, like, you try and pick one out, and I'm usually going through a list that Cal sent me, and then he's like, I want to watch Lights Out, and I write Cal, and Cal goes like, not good, and I'm like, oh, like,
yeah,
you know, it's usually my barometer, but I don't think Lights Out was amazing. I just really loved the effects of her with the light on and off and stuff. A few times, like the shooting the gun and the gun flash would make her disappear, kind of thing. Like that shit was cool.
It failed to scare me, and I knew it wanted to scare me, and it
made one huge.
I don't know
mistake.
if it was just like I've just seen all these techniques used so many times that it just kind of didn't affect me.
Like
I don't know.
The techniques things were fine. I mean, sometimes those techniques can still be scary if they just get a really cool twist on it. Conjuring being an example, but. With Lights Out, they made the first problem was that mystery makes a monster scary.
Yeah.
Right? And they literally gave you the monster within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, they kind of explained it, right?
So you're like, alright, so it's just a person stuck in an alternate dimension or something, some shit. Right?
Also, I believe we may have touched on this in another podcast, but the monster in that movie is basically a metaphor for, like, depression. The mother ends up... Spoilers! Mother ends up offing herself, and everyone's life is for the better. What sort of the metaphor starts to you just kill yourself, you have depression.
The moral of the story,
everyone else will be better off if you're not in their picture.
The moral of the story is if you have depression, just shoot yourself in the head.
Yeah, everyone else will be better off. Like I was like, and then I just started thinking, I was like, I didn't analyze this movie correctly at all. Like, I was like, that cannot be the message they're going for.
There's got to be something else.
So Blair Witch, that was really the one that disappointed me. I don't want to talk about Lights Out too much, because Lights Out was pretty, like, it was okay. Blair Witch was, like, ultimately disappointing. Blair Witch has such a legacy, obviously. It was, like, one of the, I don't want to say the first found footage movie that's apparently going to Cannibal Holocaust, but Blair Witch was really the one that popularized it, made everyone talk about found footage. You know, that was back in 1999.
Maybe it was the first found footage.
No, it was a movie from like 1978 called Cannibal Holocaust that was done like found footage camera style. Okay, well, this was the one that popularized it. That's the thing.
This is not technically the first, but it's the first one that like I knew of or anyone knew of.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, even at the time, I wasn't like super into Blair Witch. It wasn't like but I grew to appreciate it later on in my life.
I really appreciated, and there's a documentary on the original Blair Witch and what the kids did and everything, and the thought process that went behind what they did do. And like even during when I was watching that movie, I was never as frightened as everyone else was in it, but it still was horribly creepy. And the idea of just being stuck in this woods.
Well, the filmmakers left the people outside for would throw rocks at them at night and shit, and like get like every day they started giving them less food and stuff because they were filming over the course of like 8 days or something. So they started like giving them less food, so they were like actually like hungry and like it's cold.
Yeah, but like even like the thought process of how they shot it and you know like the way they built up the story and the way they edited it. Like really well done. One of a great piece of work in its own self. So like you have the
classic.
You have the next one coming, and you're like, all right, these guys.
And this one's called. So there was a sequel actually, like way back when in like 2002, called The Book of Shadows, and it was really not that great. No. Especially not as a follow up. I think it was actually like moderately entertaining. Yeah. But not good. And then just you hadn't heard of Blair Witch in like 15 years after that, right? Yeah. And then a new movie comes out called The Woods, and everyone's talking about The Woods, and The Woods is going to be so scary. All these fucking hot quotes are coming out at it. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is The Woods? And then like Comic-Con 2 months before Blair Witch comes out, they're like, The Woods is actually Blair Witch, and everyone's like, what? Like that's fucking nuts. Yeah. Go see it. It's like it's every like lame jump scare you've seen in a movie for about an hour and a half. Yeah. Like it's always like in a horror movie when it's like a cat behind a bush and they're like really ramping up like it's like and like why? Yeah. It's a bunch of shitty jump scares like that with people like tapping each other on the shoulder and but I think the last 10 or 15 minutes or so are like kind of redeem the film because there is a lot of cool stuff in there, but other than that, it's a waste of time. Which is a shame because I really like that director too. I had a lot of faith in him. He's the one who did You're Next, which I really enjoy, and he's doing the Death Note Netflix series. Yeah. So I mean, I know he made like 2 good movies before this, and Blair Witch was just not a hit. So
not every movie that someone makes is a good one. The only thing I really wanted to happen in that movie that I thought would have been really cool is the drone footage could have been done like with so much bullshit.
They could have done What a waste.
Yeah, like just the idea of this thing like hovering above and they're like walking around and you can actually see the shit moving around, but they're not looking at their drone at that moment, right, or something like that. Like that would have been fucking horrifying.
Yeah, have you seen just on another trail something passing by them with a drone overhead and they were so close to something, right? Like it was a total wasted potential. I totally agree with you. You'd think with the updated technology they would have taken advantage of it more, but it was almost like just an excuse to like show how like one establishing shot of the woods, like look how vast it is, and then.
And at the same time, they're just like, it's today's technology, and that's it.
Yeah, that was terrible. And the last disappointing one that I have is... I'm going to say Ghostbusters. I have it 5 out of 10.
It's a disappointment.
Yeah, Again, I think we talked about this actually on the last podcast, so I don't want to drive it home, but just... it was funny. It didn't really capture the spirit of the original Ghostbusters for me, and the last act is like... terrible.
Horrible. I loved the first entire 3/4 of the movie, actually. We were having a really, really good time. And then it was funny with Jed's reaction because he was loving it. He's the biggest Ghostbusters fan ever. I'm watching this whole thing and I'm like nitpicking and I'm like, but I know how much fun he's having, so like it started to diffuse me. And I'm like, you know what, it is fun. You know, like I love all these girls. They're my favorite comedic actresses, and they may not be at their best comedic form, like Spy or something like that, Melissa McCarthy, or Bridesmaids for Kirsten Wiig. But like they're still being funny, they're still being themselves. I love watching Kirsten Wiig like freak out and like grab at the table and like like she's just so awkward and cute. I want to be her best friend. And I'm like, all right, I'm actually having a good time. I gave up and then I'm like, you know what, this is fine. This is actually just what it needs to be. Just tongue in cheek, having fun. Everything's good, right? And then the moment that last act kicks in with Slimer and the dance sequence and all that, Jed is mad, like steaming mad, like so pissed, and he's like about to shut it off, and he's just like fuming at this. Like I could see it, and he's just like, and he started bitching vocally, which he doesn't do unless he's really, really mad. So I'm like, oh fuck, this is worse than I thought it was. And as I watched, I'm like, oh my god. So it just one section of a movie can just destroy it from probably would have crossed by at like a 80, and everyone would have been like, that was fun.
Yeah.
To, ooh, dude, Like,
yeah. So, do you have any disappointments this year? I don't know if you had any.
Those are pretty much my disappointments in the big way. I don't really think I have anything that disappointed me enough to like freak out about. Because again, 2016 was relatively impressive when it came down to films. Yeah, I was hoping Tarzan would be better, but I didn't care enough. Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, sorry, I remember my huge disappointment. The one I forgot. I bitched about this already, but I have to make sure that everyone knows that it's a horrible piece of shit.
Yep.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, right. Okay. So I never ended up watching that, just purely based on your recommendation.
Yeah, don't.
It didn't. The thing is, the weird thing with me was it never like looked horrible. It kind of just looked like middling to me. It always just kind of looked like, you know.
So, I've already reamed on it. Just don't watch it. It's made me so mad. I'm more passionate about it because X-Men were my babies. They were my comic book. They were my everything forever. They were my introduction. And I thought that now that they had done First Class and that was tolerable, and then the one afterwards was actually kind of fun. Last Stand, I think, was it? Or no, Last Stand was a horrible one.
Last Stand was X3. Yeah, that was terrible. It was First Class and Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past was actually not half bad, and I was like, all right, you're starting to get a little bit of that X-Men feel in. Things are working out. I can follow along with you. You know, like we might have some X-Men here. This was literally, and it was Bryan Singer again too, who did the third one and did this one. It was the same thing.
Yeah,
like just. Even the ending still had Jean Grey with a giant fiery explosion. Now, admittedly, I got to see Phoenix in her shape and everything, which was like, for me, I'm like, amazing. But no, it's just everything.
I heard a lot of, and tell me if this is true, I heard a lot of people saying, like, why would you hire Oscar Isaac to play Apocalypse when A, he's covered up in makeup, and B, he's not really like... He was a fairly generic villain, it sounded like. He wasn't really, like, super apocalypse-y. He wasn't, like...
But that's the thing. Like,
no personality.
You have Apocalypse, right? Who should be a big, bulbous, beefy thing.
Yeah, he should be giant.
Instead of this old man, which he still looked wrinkly and old after everything. Like Ivan Ooze, wrinkly and old.
Yeah. Oh, man. Remember when he looked like Ivan Ooze? At least they smartened up and they changed him a little bit.
I'll give him credit. I'll give him props for that. Yeah, no, like... He did in all of his scenes. He spent most of his time doing that stupid, and I'm sure Bryan Singer was telling him like more emphasis. You will not live to see the day. You know, like fucking shut up, dude. None of his. Anyways, I'm not going to get into it. I've already bitched on a whole other podcast.
That's totally fine.
It was just a mess from beginning.
Isn't it? On a side note, isn't it disappointing? Because your favorite are X-Men, obviously. Mm-hmm. Growing up, my favorite were Spider-Man and then the X-Men.
Yeah.
But like. Now that, you know, superhero movies are a thing, like, I feel like the properties that are getting treated worse are the ones that, like, we, growing up, loved. It was Spider-Man and X-Men, and, like, they're not with Marvel. They're the only ones that aren't, like, tangibly with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is, like, everyone doing well, you know?
Which is also their most popular franchise. I mean, we know why, and it makes sense. Most popular franchises came first because they knew those would probably have a bigger market.
Yeah, that's why the companies bought them.
And that's why they're also still holding on to them. And now Marvel is on a very successful mission to destroy both properties as much as possible.
They're not trying to destroy Spider-Man, I don't think. No, because they're cooperating with
Spider-Man. No, they were, though, for a while. A long time they were trying... Were
they?
Yeah, their whole thing was to try and make the franchises that they didn't have anymore less profitable. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man, you're right. They've curbed that. But
they're working with
X-Men is straight clear. Like, the X-Men aren't in the Marvel Capcom movie. There's no more toy line.
They have the death of X going on right now in the comics.
Yeah, like, they're wiping out... And they're literally wiping out the entire existence of mutants.
Marvel is really trying to make Inhumans happen.
Yeah.
Inhumans is not going to happen.
It's not happening at all. They're like, TV show now, maybe? No. And the TV show is not happening
No one has any affinity for the Inhumans.
And then the Inhumans inside of the comic books are still not exciting enough, right?
No, I like Black Bolt, but
that's the only character. Everyone else is like Medusa, her hair, and you're like, no, they were dumb.
No one cares. All right,
the dog with the thing on its head that like teleports people.
Okay, let's talk about. Then we're going to go to the good movies. I want to talk about my top 5, not really in any particular order either. This is just going to be my general top 5. Let's talk about Captain America: Civil War. Is that on your list too?
Yeah.
Captain America: Civil War was
excellent.
Like one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think at this point. Definitely top 3. It's in there. I remember you came back from it. You weren't as impressed on the first go. I don't know if you watched it again and you became more impressed.
I got more on it. It was. I think what was for me was I was like in my you get stuck into the Marvel universe so much, and it's bouncing between 2 big or 3 but at the end of the day, two big director landmarks in type of film, right? We had Joss Whedon and the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
Right? Joss Whedon's more levity, more one-liners, but it's got that Joss Whedon quippy fun. And I love his writing. I'm a huge Buffy fan, big Angel fan, worship of the Throne of Firefly. You name it. Joss Whedon was like my go-to. I even liked the first season of Dollhouse.
One of the few.
Yeah, one of the few. I hated the second season. And then he does Avengers, and he does it so good. Just like all of that Marvel build up to the Avengers, and Joss Whedon didn't just knock it out of the park. Like it hit the lights and explosions happened, and it like spelled something out in the explosion. Like it was perfection, right? And I had that universe, and then I had the Russo brothers, and I really liked the Winter Soldier, but it was so gray and so like it was supposed to be. I get it, but like I was like, all right, this is really cool, but just like I feel like my colors left my superhero world. And Civil War wasn't quite that, but it still felt like a Russo brothers, a little bit more gray.
For sure. It was Marvel movies, I feel like now, aside from Guardians, have like this very like muted palette to them now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everything kind of felt like right now. Civil War was more of a breakout into a more colorful world again, as it was before. But I just came out and I'm like, just needs to get away from these like blank white scenes of like the airport could have been done up a little more cool to be like the fight just look a little nicer.
It was almost like they were fighting in like Street Fighter 5, like the training area. So that white cue, it could have been that, you know. It was
It made me also not even care, like, because they were so destructive. Like when they're like, "We're gonna fight," and then they're all just like, "Oh, plane wing, smash you with the plane wing," and I'm like, "You just cost the airport like $5 billion." Like,
well, at that point, they had to capture Captain America at any cost.
Yeah.
I think, like, it's just been the build up, right? It's so much payoff. Like, there's been so much going on in the Marvel Universe. We're finally seeing the consequences of it. We're seeing, the consequences for the Avengers movie, the consequences for every movie after that, right? They're finally having to pay up for it.
Yeah. Here's the one thing, that only thing in Civil War that got me. So they're walking around and he brings the Sokovia Accords in, he slams them down, and they're all like, right? Yeah. Like, I'm totally down. And then they're like, do you know where Banner is? And I'm like, okay, well, you should be tracking where the fuck the Hulk is. Like, that would be a big deal. Then he's like, do you know where the Thor is? And I'm like, who's controlling? He's a god assigned from a heavenly dimension or more advanced dimension to protect 9 realms, and you are one of 9, and you're his charge. If he decides that he doesn't like you anymore, so what? Like, you have no realm. Like, he could just go, Asgard, fuck them all up, and you're gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you should be, like, trying to create good political relationships, and you're thinking, like, oh, the U.S. is going to make sure that the Accords fall on Thor. Thor's going to come up and just spit on the Accords, piss on them, and then shoot them with a lightning bolt and laugh. Like, I was like, what makes you think that the tracking Thor means anything? He can leave whenever he likes.
Yeah, that wouldn't matter, yeah. And Thor wouldn't be tracked.
And he's not going to, like, follow the rules. He's going to be like, your rules are silly man rules. I'm going to go back to, like, my Lord Godly rules.
Yeah, you think the guy who's going to become the Red Hulk would know more than that?
Yeah. Other than that, I love the film. I loved best scenes. The fight scene, the big battle, right?
Fight
scene was great.
We get fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, everything Spider-Man should be.
Yeah.
We get Giant Man.
Yeah,
Giant Man.
That was cool.
That was great.
Yeah.
We get fucking Vision, like just paralyzing roads.
I like that Vision demonstration.
That was a good moment.
Because in Age of Ultron, he passes out after wiping Ultron out of the internet, which I guess was a strain. That's fine, but it's a bit like all he does that, and then he hits him with a hammer, and you're like, oh, super guy, right?
Yeah.
But this, like, in this movie, he was like unstoppable force.
What was another great scene was the Hawkeye scene. When Hawkeye was like, okay, I only have like 2 minutes to try and get you out of here, and the Vision comes out, he's like, fuck. Like, he's just trying to hit him, and he's just like phasing through him, and like, but Hawkeye was great in this movie. Hawkeye really hasn't been. He's been just Jeremy Renner to me. I was like, whatever, it's Jeremy Renner in a fucking costume. I don't give a fuck about fucking Hawkeye. But this Civil War was finally like, I was like, like Hawkeye, like he had like good like quippy like lines, and like he was funny, and he tried to fight Vision the best he could, and he had some good ideas with the shocking and everything. But and then Wanda sent him like
plummeting
just through like 9 different floors, and I was like, a little expensive, like a little overkill probably, but whatever.
No, that was great. That was another really good scene. I also liked that Black Panther was sold, so like Jed saw Black Panther, and he's like, who's this dude? Because he is a bit goofy. He's a cat man.
Yeah, he's a cat man.
And he's like clawing his way down the side of the thing. But then the chase happened, and that was awesome. I loved.
That was good too.
Because they're running as fast as cars, and I love that. You've never seen it in any of them, like to understand their strength.
How fast? Yeah, exactly.
Like, and they're like booking it past cars, and they're all like.
Actually, you know what I love about Civil War the most is that, well, especially my rewatch of it, is that like every action scene, I kept thinking like, this is really good, and then the next one was like, that's even better, and then it kept getting just better and better. Every action scene kind of like one up the last one. Yeah. Even after the big fight at the airport, there's the last one between Tony and Winter Soldier, and like that was pretty good, but like it's a good way to end the film.
It was that was a little anticlimactic to me for up until they get into the part where they're both fighting him and they're smashing the shield and cooperating and trying to drop him. That part was really emotional and great, but the first little bit of it where he's just firing rockets and things start collapsing on top of itself, I'm like, you're just creating explosions now.
My biggest like thing with Civil War was like I didn't totally buy that Tony Stark would have been that angry about this still, especially since he knew Bucky. It wasn't Bucky doing it; it was his brainwashed self, you know.
And also, they never made any connection to Tony Stark getting over his abandonment issues from his dad and his parents. Like, he kind of always hated it. And they literally set that up in the beginning of the movie with his, like, little brain hollow projector where he's like, I never really moved on past my dad never being around and kind of rejected me, and he always liked Captain America more than me. Yeah. Which, that relationship was kind of neat, where he kind of, like, was jealous and resented Captain America, but was also his best friend. And then he's like, oh, I never really got that. And my mom was always trying to be the nice one, but she was always gone too. And then he's just like, he saw them get killed. And you're like, you never really connected with your parents. So, like, would you care that much? Plus, they've been dead for so long. Like,
that was the thing where I didn't.
If you needed to kill Bucky,
I just didn't quite. I didn't quite believe. I knew it needed to happen, but like, I didn't quite believe the motivation. Yeah. That being said, Baron Zemo as a villain, probably one of the better ones Marvel's had yet. Because he wasn't trying to, I'm taking over the world. Yeah. You know, it was just like, I'm going to make them punch each other. Like, and he did. It was very elaborate. But it was neat watching him the entire movie. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what is he up to? Like,
he didn't even feel like the villain. Like, the villain felt like the government for the first little bit, right? Yeah, for sure. To focus in on the Civil War portion of it, which they knew they only had for a movie, so they couldn't make it like the whole thing. But it was a really cool kind of tie-in. But yeah, to get a single piece of film in a bunker in wherever the fuck it was.
Yeah, you know, like Antarctica or whatever the fuck,
And like, there had to be some more evidence as to where this bunker was located.
Well, and I kind of like the bait and switch too at the end there, because it looked like he was going to try to unfreeze the other Winter Soldiers. That was good. And then he was actually like, I'm going to show you this emotional film. I was like, ah! But yeah,
he just puts up like a fucking like black and white, like from Clone High, one of those like
the art film
or something. Someone's just like spanking a watermelon.
Yeah.
Paella.
That activates Bucky again.
He just goes insane.
And the coolest thing about this is like, this probably has one of the biggest consequences for the rest of the Marvel Universe going forward, right? Like, half of the Avengers are, well, not in prison anymore. Spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, Steve busts them all out.
More than half.
But now there's going to be like a secret Avenger team, like doing shit on this side of the planet or whatever the fuck they're going to do. And then there's the actual Avengers.
Yeah.
So that's really neat going forward, like to see how they're going to come together again, or when they're going to come together again, if they're going to.
That was my last, and I think I'm going to close myself on the movie here, is also at the end of the movie. So they have that really emotional break, and he leaves the shield behind, and you're like, oh shit! Like
he's like, my father made that shield. Like, you don't deserve it.
Yeah, like they really severed it. Like, you know, Tony may never forgive Rogers, and Rogers is always going to be the better man because he's built that way.
That's what he is.
But one little card that just says "I'm sorry" in a phone, and Tony's just like, we're all together again. You guys go hide. I just fucked everything up.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
They're like hanging out in like a shack in Uganda, like eating out of one like bowl of soup together, and he's like sitting back in his thing, and they're all just like, "Fuck, Tony!" Like,
well, I wonder if they could have just played that slightly differently, and it would have been better, right? Like, Tony's still not gonna like try to fuck over them, but he's not willingly like, "Hey, come back," you know. He's still like fuck off for now, but like,
and Rhodes would not still be on the same side as everyone else. Like, after he gets fucking disabled, it would have been like, you know, fuck the world, and you know.
Yeah, he was fine though. He was limping along.
Yeah.
And saw Stanley out the window. Yeah. All right, so Civil War was great. We talked about that for way too long, but it is a fantastic movie. Next one, Deadpool. I thought Deadpool was also similarly fantastic.
Has it gotten worse in your head over time?
Deadpool?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah?
No, it's about the same.
I think because of the amount of times that I've had to rewatch it, because everyone's like, oh, stick Deadpool on, like for that, like you're hanging out with friends and they want a movie on in the background. And it just keeps getting tossed on.
I think I've only seen it 3 times. I saw it once in the theater, and I think I've rewatched it twice.
Really? Like I'm probably on like 26 or something.
That's too many times.
Yeah. Everyone keeps throwing it on. I think what they did was ingenious.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy it exists in its perfection in its context. I don't know, something about it is just like it's deranked itself. But maybe it's just from me watching it too much.
Totally could be. I think they, like you said, like what they did was great. They, with a small budget, they made this full blown movie with just like if you think about it, there's like 3 sets in that movie basically, right? Like, there was just so many moments that really resonated with me. Even when like, Deadpool says like when he's narrating, he's like, this is actually a love story, and then when he's getting tortured, he's like, it's actually a fucking horror story, and his like fucking skin is just like imploding on itself. Yeah. That was like almost like a little too much for me. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? It was really gross. Yeah. But it worked. It worked for it because it clearly like stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think the humor by and large was great. There wasn't a lot of like cringy Deadpool humor that I see in the comics a lot. Because depending on his writer now, like Deadpool can be like anything to anybody. It feels like there's like he's just wacky. He says random things. And I'm like, no, fine. One of my favorite joke is still him writing out the dude's name in the dead bodies. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. The only thing I found as kind of like a trying connection to the character, because Deadpool is like more than willing to kill, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
But we only get that by the time we hit to the bridge scene. And it's kind of shocking that he goes that far. They tried to plan it out at the beginning, but he's like, oh...
Well, he was going to kill that guy with a pizza, right? That's why they tried to set it up.
Yeah, but the thing was, they set it up like, oh, he wouldn't do that, right? And he helped this girl out, and he's part of this group of people that help people, and, and he gets into the bar, and he doesn't actually kill anybody, and he just does, like, jokes and stuff, and it never really seemed like he was really much of, like, a killer merc, and they said, like, in his past, he was a soldier, but just because you're a soldier doesn't make you completely...
You know what, you're right, actually. I didn't really think about that. I was kind of, like, I'm kind of going in with, like, preconceived notion of who Deadpool is, Yeah.
But I'm thinking about everyone else, and I'm like, why would you just, like, he has no concern. Like, because, like, you're a soldier, you're like, I'll shoot you and you're dead, and I'm going to be the responsible soldier and not, like, liquefy you, because that's just, like, irresponsible, But later on, when he gets to that scene and he gets the costume put together, he's just a maniac, like he should be.
Yeah.
But that motivation to, like, or not motivation, but that... The explaining his mentality of, like, he doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Never really stuck between the two characters. I
don't know, when he was chasing the guy in that Zamboni, like, that was pretty Deadpool-y. Like, really slowly, just come after him. That was fucking great. That movie's great. I just, I'm a little worried about the sequel, personally.
Same here.
With all this, like, fucking shit going on, but... Who knows? It could be great. I hope they hold on to greatness. Also, best representation of Colossus I've ever seen.
Best.
Yeah, like just... Isn't that embarrassing for the X-Men movies?
Although the guy who plays Colossus in the movies, he was, like, he looks the part. It was just,
Yeah.
And he looks very good with his shirt off.
Let's give Zootopia some props. Disney Animation knocking it out of the park recently. The last couple of years.
A couple of years.
They're really in their... I don't want to say they're in their next golden age, but, like...
That's fair to say.
I think they're doing better than Pixar recently. That might be a point of contention for a lot of people. I personally have not enjoyed a Pixar movie since Up, I want to say, like, personally.
Finding Dory was excellent.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one.
And
I've heard it's good. But yeah, like, just, like, Big Hero 6, to a lesser extent, Wreck-It Ralph. Tangled. And a lot of people love Frozen. I'm personally not super into Frozen, but
I get why it's a good movie.
Sure, it was to me again. Like after watching Tangled and I saw Frozen, I didn't really like get the reverence for Frozen, but like that's totally fine.
The connection was, I found there was more personal connection to the character for Tangled than there was for Frozen. But again, still excellent movie.
And now Zootopia, which again I heard it was like just jaw-droppingly great, and I went into it even with those expectations, like better knock me in, and I like, totally did.
Yeah,
really enjoyed that movie. What lovable characters. Great message, like really neat,
beautiful.
Like
the
weird,
whole
like
racism thing.
Yeah,
it was so undertoned, but so wonderfully placed for the time and like the whole situation. It was excellently done for that context.
Yeah,
and of course the typical Disney like story, like the small guy can still come back and do anything they dream of.
Yeah, totally.
But they also covered racism, which is
a crazy thing to do with animals. And a lot of good world building, I thought. I
loved the
like
environment.
The
pull into Zootopia was ingeniously done.
Because she was like this little, like, in this country rabbit. She's in the new city. And even when they go to that, like, more jungle area, and fuck, like, there's so many good moments.
Good. Like, even the train tour when she pulls into town and you see the city and you're like, oh, it's a city. But then the desert area on one side of the wall is getting blasted with a heat fan, right? And it's all like sand stuff and everything's like built around a desert. And then on the opposite wall, which she passes through, is a cold fan blasting snow out. And then like the polar bears are riding icebergs to work and shit. And then you're right, like great. Then it gets into the fucking rainforest one, and all of the vines are the actual water, and it's constantly pouring rain out from the rainforest. And everyone's living in their different trees, and like every different thing, like down to like the hamsters, and they had their own little travel way out and stuff. Like, so well meticulously thought out.
Fantastic movie, and it's crazy too because if you look at the writers on that movie, it's like it's doing that thing where I think I told you this before, but writers on movies, if it's like John Johnson and Aaron Aronson, and it's an and, that means they wrote it together. And if it's an ampersand with people's names, that means they wrote it in different, they all worked on the same script, but in different times and stuff. And that movie has like, and then ampersands, and then ands, and then ampersands, and I'm like, 10 different people touched this movie, and like, by all like accounts, that's usually a bad sign, you know, when it's like 10 different people fucking massage this thing, but it turned out to be so good.
These are animation lovers, and that's the thing I love about the animation community, especially from like the students and the people that you meet from the community itself. In your local city, there's always something. People who get into animation love the craft. The ones who work in the studio still currently, who haven't given up, they love the craft of animation.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's everything they think about. And it always comes across in these films, and that's what Pixar and Disney are, is a gathering spot for the people who
I'm so glad that Disney is the ones that are, it's not just a company they bought, Pixar, you know, it's like, the Disney Animation Studios is doing something good.
Yeah.
You know, like, good on them. And Moana is apparently, I haven't seen it yet, but apparently it's just as good.
Yeah, it's all
if not better than Zootopia, so.
It's all excellent.
They're knocking it out of the park recently. Couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the Big Hero 6 sequel, because I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too.
Do you want to go on your list at all, or do you want
to? It's the same list.
So. Oh, okay, cool. I want to talk about The Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2 is probably the best horror movie of the year still.
It is.
And I give it an 8 out of 10 on here. The original is like a 10 out of 10 to me, probably. Maybe a 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
You asked me on this at a certain day. Again, I think I bitched about this movie on our horror podcast, I believe. Again, I thought it was expertly well done. Totally fantastic. You need that. For me personally, I started getting bored. It's a 2.5 hour long movie. Like, I started getting bored and not scared near the end.
I rewatched it and I figured out how it started to click was the amount of times at the end when things started going really chaotic that they kept getting thrown out of the house or leaving the house and then going back in, out and in, out and in, out and in.
Yeah, that could have been it too.
That was what it was. So, like, I was trying to figure out, like, where I would start getting bored. And then, like, in the first time they go to the neighbor's house, but then they went back! And then they get out, and then she goes insane. And then they get thrown out, so they break in through the basement and come up. But then that's enough. They get out, but she goes upstairs, and then they go upstairs, and he goes upstairs, and then they go out, and you're just like, no.
Yeah, you're right.
Just stop getting in it. Either you leave, or you stay and fight. Like, choose.
I think I might have mentioned this on the horror podcast. Again, go back to our Halloween special if you want to hear us praise that movie and nitpick it a little bit. But my favorite thing with that movie was the fact that there was a fat guy in that movie, and I looked at him and I was like everyone in movies is thin and attractive unless they're like, it's got fat joke is coming, right?
Yeah.
And like, I looked at him and I was like, I guess they're just going for like a little bit of realism or something. Like they got a fat guy here, weird. And it made like a personal note of it in my head. I'm like, weird. And then all of a sudden, like, they're going back into the basement and he can't fit in there. And he's like, oh, I can't fit. Like, you have to go alone. And I was like, that's why. They made him fat so he couldn't get into the house. That's all it was. Like, that's what I was like, okay. It was such a weird, like...
But it's still a fat... It was like, ha, fatty.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I was like...
Fatty can't do what the other kids do.
They're like, well, we need to deal with this on plot terms. I'm like, well, he's too big to get in there. They're like, yeah, okay. And James Wan's like, yeah, just make him obese. Like, that's fine.
You can't even get his clothes hooked on something and be like, I'm stuck and I can't move. Like, it's just... I'm too fat to fit.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, you go fight the demon. I just can't. This belly of mine. Like, oh fuck. I remember like actively thinking that during the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a fantastic movie. And a worthy follow up, no matter what.
Yeah,
I think it'll last like 20 minutes or so.
Just kind of flop a bit, but
yeah, and nothing bad happens. It just stopped being effective for me, and I think that might be the case. Just if you're walking through a haunted house, if you were going through it for 2 hours. At the end, when someone's like, "Boo!" You'd be like, "I get it." Like, like you probably wouldn't be scared anymore.
No. But best scene for me in that movie is still the office scene with the demon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Which we finally watched again.
Yeah,
and we're like, because we kept getting parts of stuff. We're like, this happens and that. No, this happens.
We made up an entirely different scene.
yeah, we're good like that. Do you want to talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah, I love that movie.
That was real good. And that was by Dan Trachtenberg, guy who used to be on the Totally Rad show. He actually did a fan film of Portal way back when. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah,
he directed that, and then he didn't do anything for a long time, and all of a sudden he's working on this J.J. Abrams 10 Cloverfield Lane movie. It was coded in The Cellar for a long time. I heard about it was called The Cellar because I like to follow John Goodman's career. But, other than that, I didn't really know much about it, and going in that way is probably the best when you didn't know a ton about it. And just a fantastic, small, intimate film, It gets bombastic at the end a little bit, but
bombastic at the end?
Yeah.
You mean the ending?
Yes, all get very near the end. When I don't want to spoil too much of this movie in case people haven't seen it. Personally.
Yeah. Okay, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I guess it was a little bombastic, but yeah. For a box film, they always say, we're doing a box episode.
Yeah.
For a box film.
A bottle episode.
Yes, yeah. It's so good.
I love shit like that, though. It's even kind of what Ex Machina is, right?
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I know the place better. It's not just constantly switching environments and sets. You need to keep me interested in a place with 4 rooms. That's good storytelling.
Mm-hmm. John Goodman was excellent. The actress was amazing. The third pair party, I didn't care.
He didn't have a ton of effect on me.
No, when he died, I was like, okay, good.
Yeah,
we can move on.
But it opens even with in a room, or no, it doesn't open with that, but sorry, after she wakes up, she's in a room alone, it's this air of mystery, what the fuck's happening,
But he's got her, in a dungeon section.
Yeah, it looks like a rape dungeon or something, it's totally, it is creepy.
And then John Goodman rape dungeon.
And she's smart, though, and does the thing. The entire way through, she's, this totally smart protagonist.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. She plays up really well and everything.
That's the thing. I hear a lot of people, and I have this, I want to say talent. A lot of people in horror movies, they're they always do something so stupid in horror movies, and in my mind, I'm just there wouldn't be a movie otherwise. People need to be stupid for these things to happen, That's why I'm always so impressed when there is a horror movie where people are doing smart things, or that impresses me all the more. But I can still enjoy things when people are acting idiotic, like any Friday the 13th movie.
But no, all of her moves were smart, and any of her failures didn't feel like being idiotic in any fashion.
Yeah, it didn't feel like she went way too out on a limb, or of course he's looking at you. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Except for maybe when she snuck into his room, and I'm you have maybe 4 square meters of living space. Not a good idea. But no, John Goodman carried that for a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
And she got a lot of props for everything that happened. All of the scenes throughout the whole bottled portion of the movie is really where the movie's at. And the tension and the question and the mystery behind everything was really cool. And there were, and I loved the juxtaposition switch, where you think there's nothing wrong outside, then it gets confirmed that there is something going on, but maybe it's not what they think, and then, she starts finding messages and secrets that unveils more that would happen with the actual main character, or with John Goodman's character, that starts unveiling more questions, and how much and quickly that kind of unravels and wraps itself up at the end and just moves on to a larger story. And yeah, they were her own little kick-ass ending moment at the very end of the very last scene of the movie and all that. Wonderfully put together.
Is it weird to you, speaking about this franchise now as a whole, that now there's a franchise, that Cloverfield
I don't get how it's considered a Cloverfield franchise. None of it makes any sense, but anyways.
Well, in my mind right now, it's going to be kind of a Black Mirror or a Twilight Zone thing, where everything is different, but everything has the Cloverfield label to it, you know what I mean? Everything is, it's not all intertwined, but it's all different.
I hope not, because...
But isn't it weird that Cloverfield was 2008, and all of a sudden they're going to call this 10 Cloverfield Lane in 26, almost 8 years later, But, oh yeah, we'll make the sequel now. Why? What's happening?
Yeah, this Cloverfield universe, which, if it is all on one planet, this is the worst. That is the darkest timeline.
That is the darkest timeline.
Because New York's got giant parasite monster man, and then
Killer John Goodman.
Yeah, and then Killer John Goodman stuff, which I won't spoil.
Yeah, and then
now we're coming up to
what's that one called? I was going to say Arrival, but that's not it.
No, the new one.
Yeah, whatever the next one is.
Yeah,
but they're moving faster with it now. Now they're I don't know. They're gonna call it like Cloverfield Space.
But even then, they're gonna go to like to Japan or something, and they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, and over here we've got fucking vampires."
Yeah.
You know, like,
hey, I'd see that a Japanese vampire movie. Absolutely.
Yeah. But they're all apologizing for it because the Japanese are so polite and ceremonial. They're hovering over you, and you're like, "Ah, domo." And they finish the whole thing, tear everybody apart. Someone comes in, "My mom, arigato," flies off.
Do you want to talk about Star Trek Beyond?
Yeah,
I didn't see this one, so this is you. Take it away.
Oh, well, it's just a quick hit. This franchise, I think, has lost a lot of its steam. Strangely enough, with only 3 movies, because like the first movie came and the new Star Trek, I cried through most of that film. So we've lost Star Trek as a series. It wasn't coming back. I was a huge Trekkie. My dad and I used to watch Star Trek together, even if it was a rerun that we've seen 20 times. I built model ships with my dad when I was a kid. Like I built a whole Romulan warbird and all this shit. Like huge Trek fan. And then series goes away and they come back and they're like, "Oh, we're going to relaunch, reinvent it." I'm like, no, get into this movie. And that first scene has the entire audience bawling. Like everyone's just wiping away tears, trying not to cry. Because it was very moving and very well done. And actually one of Chris Hemsworth's only true acting moments so far.
No, not Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth was the captain on the first...
was he? Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Chris Pine.
Yeah, Chris Pine is his son in the movie. Chris Hemsworth plays his father.
Oh, Chris Hemsworth in it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
Sorry,
like in the
you were
first
just
15 minutes of the movie. He plays Tiberius Kirk.
Man, I saw both those movies. I don't remember fucking anything.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I wasn't like super paying attention, but like the only thing I remember is at the very beginning of 2. There's like this weird like red and white planet, and it struck me visually, but nothing else. I remember Benedict Cumberbatch looking weird, and I was like, all right, yeah, he already looks like an alien. That's fine.
But yeah, like I got through that entire movie, and there was nothing but like welling emotions of every scene that came up, and when the Enterprise falls and then pops back up out of the clouds, I'm like, ah. So like amazing. And then the second movie comes along, and it's not a piece of shit in any fashion. It's a very good movie. It's just oddly paced, and Benedict Cumberbatch is a weird man.
People talk about things like they're only pieces of shit or only brilliant, but like it's refreshing to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed that movie thoroughly from beginning to end, and I loved J.J. Abrams playing the juxtaposition on Wrath of Khan, which was the original second Star Trek movie, to this one, and then flipping Spock and Kirk's position in the radioactive section of the ship. To having Kirk die and Spock live, and then Spock doing the notorious "Gone." Like, great thoughts. I loved it. Wonderfully put together. So, I just, that for some reason kicked the steam out of the whole franchise. And then this one comes out and everyone's like, oh god, the Fast and the Furious guy is doing it. And there is one moment that is definitely him being like, I still want to have car chase scenes in it, kind of thing. Or 2, really, at the end of the day. But I watched it with such a fine-tooth comb that when I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, that's not as good. It was still good, but it was not Star Trek 1 or 2 good. And then I watched it with Jed, who had no expectations walking in. He didn't know anything about it. And he just watched the whole thing. He's like, wow, that was almost better than the first one. And I'm like, what? When I watched it with him and like that childlike glee that he was having with all of it, I'm like, wow, this is actually, like, there's a lot of Star Trek amazingness to this. So some great scenes, like the design for the space station. Whoever concepted that, oh, I'd be like on my knees for that instantly. Like, holy crap, so well thought out. Like one of the best sci-fi space station designs I've ever seen in my life.
High praise.
It's just totally just incredible. Like all of these spinning bars that all rotate around, and the city is on the inside of the bar as it all rotates around inside of this giant sphere that produces the oxygen. And the bars for the city, I mean, like a skyscraper would be like, like the size of like a hangnail, and it's just coating the inside. So it's billions of people and whole cityscapes on these like rotating loop. Anyways, you got to see the design. It's incredible work. So all of that was great. Sulu being gay was also a nice little nod. The relationships were really nice to see that kind of develop and grow. I liked Kirk's dilemma because he dealt with that in the original series about trying to like figure out whether he wanted to be an admiral in the original series. He chose to do that and regretted it. He always wanted to be in the seat of the captain in the adventure. Spock, and then losing Leonard Nimoy in real life and losing Spock in the movie, which was very moving, and seeing him pull out the picture of the original crew with Spock and everybody, and then you see Leonard Nimoy in the original crew as they're all passing as they get older.
It's the same timeline? Different timeline?
Different timeline. Of course, they also all look extremely different, even though they've aged 30 years.
Sure.
But still, very moving stuff. Yes, they did play fucking Beastie Boys to defeat the bad guys, but whatever.
Sure.
It was a good scene.
Whatever. Guardians of the Galaxy, they have a dance off to kill the guy, so
yeah, whatever. We can go with anything. Great movie. Loved it.
Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it, as being like a Star Trek fan.
I just hope the steam of this continues because I'm really loving the new crew and I want to see more stories with them. I just hope it kicks out because now it's competing with Star Wars and the Marvel movies. And
on a similar note, for something that I love, I want to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows movie for a brief second.
No, you don't.
Look, I wish the Ninja Turtles got treated as well as Star Trek is getting treated to you. You know what I mean? It's still not good by any means. By any means, like at all. The original movies are still better, and even if you go back to those are extremely cheesy.
Leave the review there. That's good.
No. But like this movie, there's still fun to be had. That's the thing, especially for me as a fan of everything Turtles, basically everything except for that fucking TV show they had. But this movie struck me. I feel like they took a lot of criticism from the first one, and this one is kind of like an extended Saturday morning cartoon episode because it's got Bebop and Rocksteady acting like idiots. It's got Krang, who's voiced by Raymond's brother from Everybody Loves Raymond. Terrible choice. I want to say whoever made that decision, like, get out. You're just there was no inspiration behind that choice. It was fucking terrible. But the interaction between the turtles was so much better than the first one. They actually felt like brothers. They actually had moments like that. They had little like quips between each other, and I enjoyed it a lot more than the first one. Even the first one, I like painfully accepted. But I just wish the turtles would get like a modicum of like respect. You know what I mean? Like
that's some fandom there, ladies and gentlemen, because like those are some shit-tastic movies, and Cal's still sitting through them going like, these turtles are cool.
They're still good. No, but okay.
See, you just did it. You're like, no, but they are.
No, they are pretty good. Well, again, the first one isn't. I will accept the first one is not good, but like the second one, if you watched it, you would be like, and with the mentality that's like it's a Saturday morning cartoon one from the 80s, you'd be like, yeah, it kind of is.
I guess
it's dumb like that.
Yeah.
But I wish, I obviously wish we could have like a gritty Ninja Turtle, like the comics.
Yeah,
or something.
The comics would be great.
Like taking tribute from that. But we're never going to get that.
No.
They're never going to do it properly. We're just going to get. And the Turtles just aren't popular enough to get too many chances. I don't think so. We got one more in us.
Yeah.
So let's make the next reboot good.
Yeah.
But I think they're infinitely better than something like the Transformers movies, which I
God, how bad they've gotten. I like the first Transformers movie film. Thought it was a great way of actually tackling it. Kind of just wish it was that, and everyone was like, "Hey, Transformers!" And then really a new TV show.
See, and you said I asked you before we even started recording. I was like, "Do Transformers people like the Transformers movies?" And you're like, "Yeah," and I was like,
"Well, they do."
I was like, "I wish I had that."
I have a friend who literally collects classic because there's like tens of thousands of different Transformer toys, right?
Yeah, there's a billion.
He collects classic toys and just resells them after he cleans them up and fixes them and shit. Huge Transformers fan, and he goes to see some movies. He gets a big kick out of them, and he's an actor, so he's very picky about his stuff.
Doctor Strange.
Oof. My best superhero film.
Has it risen for you?
Yeah.
Is it your number one Marvel movie?
1 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is still. It's number 4 for me. I think it's just cresting the top 3. It's not quite there, but it's almost there.
Yeah, no, it's easily up there.
Yeah, and we have a whole Doctor Strange spoiler cast. So
I'm not going to hit on this.
Repeat a ton of it, but it was a fantastic movie, really entertaining.
It really, really easily quick, though, for me, that as it's now evolved, is just one... I have to totally agree with something you said, where I kind of wish they had done more with his dimensional powers, because really, at the end of the day... and this came from watching Ryan Lang's concept artwork for Doctor Strange, and he was showing him doing stuff like creating he went in the concept art, he's doing this triangle kind of slash motion, and he creates that inverted impossible triangle, but the one where the triangle looks like it's overlapping itself. He creates that as a dimensional trap to catch someone in the concept art, and I'm like, genius!
Yeah, that's fucking great. Holy shit.
It was amazing thought process. They didn't include it as part of he did the concept art.
So
and just sorry, quickly, and then the other one was his weapons. So in the very first scene, we see her, the ancient one, maybe make them into knives at one point and stuff like that, and even creating the shields. But he never really shows us what he does with those. And then in the concept art that Ryan Lang shows, he has them swinging them like they were blades, or putting them out and blocking with them. But he should have done some other things, maybe at one point he blocks one, then switches to a different finger pose, and then suddenly warps their clothing into like a bandage that wraps them up and ties them on the ground and shit like that. Mm-hmm. Like just a couple of moments where he just starts to bend reality with his spells.
I wish they had that too. I wish they had more. I was reading an interview with the director, Scott Derrickson, and what it sounds like is that Marvel really wanted him to pull back on the crazier stuff for the sequel. Yeah. Because I think there's probably a lot of higher-ups that are worried about, A, introducing magic, and B, like, introducing magic that was too complex. Like, you got trapped in an impossible cube, or a triangle, or whatever, right? Like, shit like that. That sounds really cool, but that's also stuff that, you know, they don't have faith that a regular audience is going to... They're going to be like, they're like, why did he do to Mads Mikkelsen? I like the Hannibal man. You know, or whatever. Like, so he said expect a lot more stuff to show up in the sequel when people are like more ready for it.
Because like it kind of and it clicked a little bit more when you mentioned that, and I thought about like the last ending sequence when he meets with Thor, and then suddenly he's switching out his beer and tea and filling the glass up and everything, like changing the fundamental physics of what's going on around him. Yeah. Yet he never did anything like that in the actual movie when he fought. It was almost all about his time gem and him creating whips. You know, like. That was about all he could do. And I admit, he was early on in his training and stuff, but nevertheless, he's a genius. He's been studying books. He's Doctor Strange. He should have done a little more.
Still one of the best ways actually the best way probably to defeat a villain aside from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my god.
The time loop thing he does.
The Dormammu time loop thing was like, that was sheer writing genius.
Awesome. Yeah. Like one of the better ways. I didn't want like some giant beam battle or like I'm magicking harder than you, like you know, like shit like that was just stupid. Yeah. Fantastic way, really good way to end a Doctor Strange movie. Yeah, for sure. Do you want Arrival?
Did you see Arrival?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
really enjoyed it.
Best sci-fi film.
At least this year.
Like last few years. Like there's been a bunch of really good sci-fis along the lines of like Gravity and Interstellar and stuff, but each one of those has an issue. So like Jed hates Gravity despite being the biggest sci-fi fan on the planet because it's a Christian propaganda movie.
Gravity didn't get me at all. No. I had no
connection to that film whatsoever. I thought it was really neat and then also horribly implausible. But then once Jed walked out of the film and described out exactly how it was a Christian propaganda film, I was like, oh my god, that's really obvious.
I didn't get anything. No, I honestly don't even remember what happens mostly though.
That's okay, it was fine. So like that pissed me off, and then like Interstellar, everyone's like, oh, he would have been crushed in the gravity, and what's with this like, you know, you're infecting time with like in your kid's room flicking things. Like everyone thought that was just too far gone. I get that.
I liked all that.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like if you're warping the sheer fabrics of reality, you know, like I don't think.
I feel like anything goes to that point.
Yeah,
you could have written dinosaur on that fucking bookshelf and been like, I'm Matthew McConaughey, and been like.
That'd have been great if the whole film just screws up.
It's a Mechonosaurus.
You're like, you could have asked them for anything. How do we to save the planet? A dinosaur. How does that work? I'm Matthew McConaughey.
I'm going to open Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You ever seen the end of that movie? No. Make a lot of money, though.
So good. But Arrival was a really solid, wonderful think piece. And really great sci-fi.
Really nicely paced, you know, like... so like slowly told, a lot of really like nice long shots to like let you like think about a scene. Why they show that for so long? What's happening here?
Yeah,
a lot of great moments.
I love the concept of it. I love the concept. There's a huge amount of spoilers to go into this, and it's too new.
Yeah, I don't want to. This one's pretty fresh too. I don't know if I want to.
I don't want to go too far into it, but the whole concept behind it, and this is not a spoiler. This was in the trailer. Like her whole thing with linguists and talking to the aliens and the way that they talked and everything.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that. Yeah, she's trying to figure out how to communicate with another race.
Wonderful,
or not race, species.
Wonderful stuff. So beautiful work.
Yeah, really, really good. Kind of the end of the list here, unless you want to talk about Jungle Book.
It was good. That was all I have to say. I wasn't thrown into the like explosion realm that everyone else was. Beautiful, beautiful work.
Yeah, it looks like
stunning.
I still have to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to give a couple of shout-outs. Actually, Hush was another one of my top movies. You saw Hush, right?
That's the one with the deaf guy?
The deaf girl.
Oh, the deaf girl, and
deaf girl.
Yeah, that's a good shout-out.
Yeah, very good.
Have you seen the one with the blind guy?
Oh, Don't Breathe?
Yeah.
No, still haven't seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah, heard it's excellent, though.
Yeah, that's on our way.
I really like the director, so... I want to give a shout-out to Ouija Origin of Evil, which is the same director. This is the same director as Hush. So Ouija came out last year. Ouija was terrible. Ouija was a bad movie. Really not scary, just Mike's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy right now. The director of Hush, Mike Flanagan, excellent director. Yeah. He took Ouija, a prequel to Ouija. So, the events to Ouija haven't even happened yet. And he took it and made, like, a solid fucking horror movie.
Oh.
He did a really good job. I was shocked.
Like, scary?
Yeah, it got some good moments. Huh. My only gripe is, like, there's a couple CG moments where I was like, oh. Huh. Like, it's supposed to be something scary, and I was like, oh. I was like, that's not very good. Now is it? Like,
how 90s of you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's bad. But otherwise, no, like, really surprisingly good. I think most people were shocked because no one really liked the first Ouija movie. Yeah. It's Ouija.
Yeah. It's also a story about a Ouija board.
Yes. Yes, it is. But they managed to make a solid movie out of it. I'm super impressed. It's given me faith that Mike Flanagan can probably make anything good at this point. But if you asked me about the Your Next Guy, I would have said that too. Yeah. And Blair Witch happened, so who knows?
Oh, I'll give my shout out.
Sure.
Nice Guys, or The Nice Guys.
Oh, yeah. Our friend Shane Black.
Our friend Shane Black. I didn't even know it was Shane Black. I watched that movie and I'm like, this is a bit crazy, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it is. It's basically, I think it's just him. It was him talking and someone was like, we're going to make a movie. Like, because it's off-putting. It's off. Nothing's correct about the way they're talking and about what they're saying.
It's Gosling,
Shane
right?
Black.
It's Gosling, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Ryan Gosling and Australian I Want to Fight.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
I'm fighting round the world. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's this weird offsetting like dialogue with these guys who maybe don't quite get how things work. And then when I heard Shane Black, I'm like, oh, it's just him. It's this weird guy who talks like he just doesn't get how things work.
Shane Black makes good movies. That's the thing. Like he did Iron Man 3. Like he makes good movies. It's shocking, but yeah. I want to give a shout out to The Boy. Boy is a horror movie that came out very early this year.
I didn't see that.
It stars what's her name? We wanted her to be Tomb Raider, the girl from Walking Dead.
Oh,
Lauren Cohen.
Lauren Cohen.
Stars Lauren Cohen. Really solid little horror movie. Like not super good, but just enough to keep me going and leave me intrigued. Mm-hmm. And it ends like on this, like the last act. I was like, I did not expect this at all. What a crazy thing to happen. Yeah. So that movie is worth checking out. I don't want to spoil anything. Just go check it out. The Boy is a really weird movie. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of those people next.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the Amanda Knox documentary. Amanda Knox had this.
Who?
Amanda Knox. She was it's a suspect, let's say, in a murder case a couple years back. She was in Italy.
Oh,
and like her roommate got murdered.
Yep.
And this whole thing, and like it just delves into the story, gives you like a little bit of like, here's the media side, here's Amanda Knox's side.
I know what you're talking about. I just watched it in the background. I watched it in the background while I was working on something.
It was interesting, and it was really interesting to see like the Italian police force and like they really had it out for her, and were like kind of incompetent about it.
Yeah,
and, like,
they're really bad.
And he like maintains to this day, and like if you research that that guy a little bit, like he's totally like he tried to like frame some like murder as like this like Satanist thing, and never any evidence of that. So really interesting documentary.
That was just extraordinary. Did you read about the guy who Pizzagate? Have you read about Pizzagate?
No.
Some guy heard on some stupid alt-right bullshit website that there was a child pornography ring that Hillary Clinton started being run in the basement of this pizzeria. The pizzeria doesn't even have a basement, but the guy decided that he wanted to investigate, so he went in with an automatic rifle and started shooting. And looking for the basement of the child pornography ring run by Hillary Clinton. Of course, obviously, bad things ensued, but that's what he said afterwards. Like, I was investigating the claims of child pornography for Hillary Clinton in the basement of this building, and there's no basement, and there's no child. There's literally a 0% chance that story was ever true. You know, like,
baffling.
Super baffling. That's what people.
And the last one I want to give a shout out to before we take a break here is The Wailing. The Wailing is a...
God, you were picking out some indie horror films.
The Wailing is a... South Korean? Which one's not the crazy one? North Korean? South Korean.
South Korean.
So South
Dude.
Sorry.
No.
I always get mixed up. I don't know. Starts with South and North. I never remember.
Dude, that's not okay.
Why?
You can't... be a person of the world and not know the one that has the crazy man who can shoot the nuclear weapons. Like, you can't just not know
whichever
that
one. I said whichever one's not the crazy one. I just
but you can't not know that information.
Yeah, but what if there was East Canada and West Canada? Like, if I was an American, I probably would fucking remember. I'd be like, which side is the crazy side?
But we make fun of them for not knowing that we don't live in igloos and polar bears.
Yeah, it's just that
we
kind of thing.
We don't live in, you know what I mean. No.
Mike's lying. I have an igloo right now. So it's a South Korean...
Quick. Did I ever tell you a really quick story? The time we were in the States and my sister decided that her and my friends, and all my friends were girls, were all in this hot tub in Florida, and they decided that they were going to lie about what we did, and all these American guys, and they're big buff guys with these like little shorts on, came down and sat in the hot tub to try and hit on my sisters, and my sister and my best friends, and my sister starts going on this amazing story, and she's telling them so, like, looking them dead in the eye, and she's like, yeah, so my dad, he hunts polar bears, and he brings them back to our igloo, and then I usually try and shovel clear the igloo, like the front of the igloo, and then Mike's usually the one managing the inside, like just totally selling it, and they are on. They are like in. They're like, really, right? And they're getting more people over to hear the story and stuff, and they're all buying it.
Oh yes, we use the blubber.
yeah. Like, I was so baffled. Not just at the fact that they were buying it, but my sister was selling this story like it was just real.
Oh yeah, people, they can't believe we have bagged milk. So like, much like you tell them we ride polar bears, it's probably not that big of a stretch.
We love the United States. It's just funny.
Yes, okay, it's South Korean horror film. I looked it up. It's a South Korean horror film. It's one of, like, the first ones to come out of there. I have a huge release like this. It's getting a lot of excellent reviews. It's very, very slow. I didn't think it quite lived up to the hype, but I've been hearing about it for months and months and months and months, like, looking forward to it, trying to find, like, any copy online. I watched it illegally, I'm sorry. I don't know how I could legally pay for this film.
Yeah.
And when I finally got to see it, like, I was like, oh, it's pretty good, but, like, not quite what I thought it was going to be. I think it was a victim of its own hype for me, personally, but it's still worth a watch. Like, it's still, like, a solid, like, 70%, I'd say.
That's still pretty good.
Really interesting, too, like, just because...
For a horror film, that's good.
You know how, like, Japanese horror just has, like, a different flavor? It's, like, a very different style of filmmaking.
I always feel like Japanese horrors never really have, like, a cohesive end. So, like, The Ring, right? Or Ringu, was just footage of this thing constantly killing things. Like, there was no, like, one character and they're being tortured and they have to finish the ring. It literally just killed things for a movie and then the last one died and they're like, that was what happens when you read this thing. It was like, watch this thing. Like, that was it.
Yeah, here's a movie.
Yeah. But Japanese horror films kind of run like that a lot of the time, where it's just like, watch everything die, then it's over.
Yeah, it's paced differently, and the same thing with this. Like, they're it's like they're doing their best emulation of like a Western Hollywood film, and like it still comes off as like kind of like neat to see, like, this is how you're doing this. Cool. Like,
it's like anime films too. They would, I guess, North American standard live action versions.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. it's kind of that vibe. But yeah, I still recommend The Wailing. I totally want to give it a shout out just in case you haven't seen it. If you're looking for something a little bit different, go see it.
Yeah.
And then now coming up after the break, we're going to be going down a list of movies that look best in 2017.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to the second segment of our best of movies. Mike, I know we promised the listeners that we're going to go down the 2017 movies that we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
And we will.
Oh.
But I briefly wanted to give a shout out to a couple TV shows that were very good this year. I wrote down the new TV I watched this year. And I think you can get behind some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Stranger Things.
Fucking
right?
Good God.
I mean, there's no way you're listening to this podcast and you haven't at least heard of Stranger Things, and you know if it's for you or not, but fantastic show.
I haven't heard anyone say not.
No, yeah, absolutely no.
That's the thing. No one said not. Everyone's just been like, yep.
Yeah, it seems like pretty universally like, this is good. This is a good thing.
It's extraordinary.
Yes, definitely looking forward to the second season. An anime, Hero Academia. My Hero Academia.
I still haven't watched it.
Mike still hasn't watched it. You should. I don't watch a ton of anime, so maybe I'm also not the best person to.
No, but it was your favorite.
But also, like, I don't watch a lot of anime, so the ones that strike me, I feel like there's something special. I like Hunter a lot. Yeah. I like Soul Eater a lot. Maybe that's not so special. I don't really know. Yeah. I don't know how well it's regarded. But My Hero Academia is a good shonen anime. Yeah. A lot of fighting, a lot of cool stuff. I feel very connected to the main character.
Yeah, I liked a bunch of animes this year. There were a couple of them were really good. Aijin was actually surprisingly well written, even though its animation sucks.
Which one?
Aijin, Aijin.
Have I seen that at all?
Probably not. It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a Netflix series. It's one of those stupid that were trying to make 3D into anime shows.
Those are like almost always bad, but I've seen a couple examples where the studio is really like nailing it.
Yeah, the other one from Netflix, Nice of Sidonia, is nailing it as close as I've seen so far to an enjoyable level.
I think I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah. It's like the big ship with this big cylinder, and it's like robots. And Aijin doesn't nail it, but the content of the show is so disturbing and cool. It was, and it's a really neat idea. So, really good one. I put that one on my list.
Sure. I want to give Wolf Creek. This is what reminded me, because we just watched that thing. Wolf Creek was a Australian horror movie that was very good. And then many years went by, and they did a sequel, Wolf Creek 2, and that was also very good. And now it got adapted into a TV series. Also quite good. I binge-watched the entire thing while I was working on art one night. There was 8 episodes out. I watched like 8 hours, maybe a little less than that, of this series. Entertaining, if you're in for a good horror TV show. Speaking of which, a fantastic horror TV show.
You got a smirk. What's going on?
The Exorcist.
Oh.
On Fox.
I heard it was not that bad.
It's excellent.
Oh.
And I'm a huge The Exorcist fan. The original movie. That's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And this TV series that I heard Fox doing with an Exorcist TV series. I was like, A, unnecessary. B, it's on Fox. It's going to be terrible. I ended up giving it a shot after hearing like really good things with the first couple episodes. And it's just getting better and better. Like, it's only 8 episodes deep, and like at least 2 episodes so far could have been like season finale level of like, holy shit, this is happening. Like, really surprisingly good. If you're into horror or into The Exorcist at all, I implore you to give it a chance.
Cool.
Luke Cage, I only ended up watching 1 episode. It just did not hook me, and I don't really care to go back, honestly.
No, that's fine. Jed tried to make his way through, got to episode 6, and was just like, Jesus Christ, make something happen.
That deep in, and he was still begging for something to happen?
Yeah, he was forcing it through because there is a core of something incredible in there. I have to agree that after watch the season from beginning to end myself in one shot, because I'm a huge Marvel Netflix TV shows fan. Like, I've liked everything they've made to a really strong level. But the dark, gritty, depressing tropes are getting repetitious, and the action needs to way up so hard. And the other thing too is they got really good with clever moments of like super strength with Jessica, but like there was so very few of them, and you just wish there was more. There was more of it in this series, and far more obvious examples of like super strength and superpowers. But again, same thing. It was just like, come on, just give me a little bit more, give me a little bit of something. And you can do it with clever camera tricks. I don't care what it is, you know. And just a few more scenes. Like, the best example is there's one scene where he's trying to get out of an apartment building and he jumps off from the 6th floor and he just drops and lands, right? They don't do the Marvel, like, watch him drop thing. They just show him jumping out of the building, and then the next shot is him hitting the ground and the ground cracks underneath him, right? That doesn't cost any money, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know, you just make him step off a small ladder and you've filmed your scene.
Yeah.
You know, we need more of that in the Marvel Netflix series. It's time to dump the budget into visuals. The character stories are kind of getting told, and apparently Iron Fist is going to be that. Apparently it's nothing but like high-flying action, so.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Hansen versus Predator. I'm endlessly entertained by the How to Catch Predator series. The one where they invite like a pedophile over, basically.
What is this?
How to Catch Predator. You've never heard of How to Catch Predator?
No.
Back on like late 90s, like mid 2000s. Okay, let's go over this for a second. NBC Dateline did a show called How to Catch Predator, where they pretended to be.
I've heard of this, yes.
Yeah, where they pretended to be like a 14-year-old girl or a 14-year-old boy, and they lure people over, and then the guy comes over, the decoy leaves, and Chris Hansen comes out in a suit, and he goes, "Why don't you see? What are you doing here today?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything." He's like, "We have transcripts," and he like puts it in front of them, and they have to be like, and like, it's almost the same thing every time, but I'm endlessly entertained by it. And he came back and kickstarted a series where he just gets to do this to new pedophiles, so that's fantastic. And like, there's some great reactions where they're like, "I fucking heard about this show." They're like, "I heard this was getting funded." Shit like that is just funny to me. They're awful people, obviously, but you would hope it would knock some sense into them.
It's kind of wrong that that's entertainment, though.
Oh yeah, it's totally exploitation. These people have like a mental illness probably. Westworld. I binge watched after hearing great things about it all year. I binge watched about 4 episodes of it, and it is just as like addictive as everyone says it is.
I wish I could watch some. I don't have access to it on any of my systems, and I don't download
stuff.
It's
very cool.
I really want to see it now. Like the first few episodes, everyone was kind of like shaky on the response, and I'm like, oh, here we go, and then it's on everything.
It totally has that like when when Lost was really popular. There's always something like leaving you like, what is that, and how is this going to happen? And what is that? Every episode like leaves more questions open than it answers, and it's it's like super intriguing. Like that's the thing. Like I'm dying to watch. Like I think the season finale just happened. Now I'm like I really want to go binge watch the rest of it.
I don't want to watch now because I can't stand that anymore. Any show that follows the Lost format where you're constantly asking questions without getting enough answers.
You're getting enough answers. That's the thing. You learn stuff as you're going through. But there's always more to learn. That's the thing. It's very crazy.
I don't know.
And I assume Westworld's so big, I feel like I'm not going to be as convincing to watch it. So check it out if you want. Black Mirror season 3.
Oh God,
obviously so excellent. And the other 2 I watched this year were The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. Not really new. Just on the new seasons. Legends of Tomorrow is a complete waste of time. It seems entertaining enough. It's not like Arrow bad anymore, but like it makes no sense because in the Flash show, they're fucking with the timeline all the time, and they're like, Barry, you can't fuck with the timeline. Like, you're not a god. Like, you're ruining everything. Barry, stop. And then Legends of Tomorrow, they're like, we're fucking up time. Like, and like, no consequences. And I'm like, okay, but you're in the same universe. And like, how is there... it is done. Flash isn't as good this season. I'm actually like a couple episodes behind, which I never let happen before. So I'll let that speak for what it is. It doesn't seem bad. It just seems like very formulaic at this point.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they'd switch things up. And with that said, I think that's all the good TV I've watched this year. I'm sure there's more, but like for new things, that's it. Now, on to our most anticipated 2017 titles. Mike, I just showed you a trailer for the Belko Experiment.
That was neat.
Producer James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy and films like Slither, and the director of Wolf Creek, the TV show I was talking about. What'd you think of that?
Sorry. I was thinking it was really neat. It's The Purge.
Yeah, it's like Marty. It's like The Purge in a building.
It's The Purge.
It's The Purge, Marty.
It's The Purge.
It's like The Purge planet. There's always a different variation on
it. They didn't just purge.
Yeah, and it is. It's like The Purge in a building. Like the premise seems to be these people work for this company, the Belko company. And
it was a non-profit organization. Blah blah.
Yeah, and then one day, like they give this announcement that like you need to kill 3 of your coworkers, or we're going to kill 6. And then they're like, what? No. And then obviously someone dies, so it proves that these people have power. Yeah. And then the windows and doors all close shut, and they're board up. And
then, of course, it always escalates. And they're like, now you got to kill 30, or we kill 60, blah, blah.
Yeah. So it seems like it could be a really cool story going on there.
But I like the idea. Like, I really do like the idea. Plus, I mean, like, The Purge, as per the movie, and that idea has been explored several times. But... there's always something kind of cool about just making a story about human nature and putting him into it. Like the Saw in the end is kind of the same thing, right?
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think James Gunn especially has like a certain like twist to his writing, like a certain like bend where you're like, this is a little fucked. Like, so
you got pizzazz.
And they actually Michael Rooker, the guy who plays Yondu, is in that too.
Yeah.
So and John C. McGinley from Scrubs, Dr. Cox himself is in there. Good to see he's still getting work. John Wick Chapter 2. We don't know much about this.
Oh, we're on to our most anticipated films now, by the way.
Yeah, I said that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Goddamn, Mike. Goddamn.
Wasn't paying attention. I don't listen to half the things you say.
I know. That's fine. I talk a lot. John Wick Chapter 2. We haven't seen much from this film. A couple posters.
We've seen some great news articles about how there's going to be more action than ever as action before. We have made a whole skit that was quite good about, him just doing a spiral of death.
Yeah.
Just gun counters.
Yeah, we promised more action was like a very puzzling thing to hear.
Because I think the script when Keanu Reeves got the first script was probably like 1 page, and it just has 4 lines on it.
Yeah.
My dog, I'll get you, I'm an assassin.
Kind of
kind
of like Taken, but a dog.
Yeah.
And
that's like the whole script, and he's like, brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time he's shooting. So now it's just going to be down to 2 lines where he's just going to be like, hi, that was fun.
Yeah,
and, like that's the whole movie.
And the thing is, like, I don't want more action. I like the same level because I'd like them to explore that world a little more. Well, it seems really intriguing.
They hinted at it with the trailer, right? Like that they were going to explore the society that he was a part of, and like the assassins group, and he's going to like other places and all that. So. Looks like they're going to go out and explore it a little bit, but I mean, if they're going to be more action than ever before, he's going to be explaining it while doing like a spiral through the air, shooting everything.
He's
like, my mother was never there for me. When I was 6, I saw my first death. Shotgun.
Perfect. And that's coming out Friday, February 10th, 2017. So we don't have long to wait for that movie. That's just cool. Also, the Belko Experiment is out very soon. I'm not going to re-Google it. It's out very soon, too. Very early in the year. Next up, Power Rangers. Power Rangers.
It is on my anticipated because I need to see what this...
Yes, absolutely. I believe we talked about this in one of the last podcasts when we talked about the Alpha 5 arc.
Yeah.
But it's just... This is going to be a weird movie.
It's going to be weird. That's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. Because it's either going to be a horrendous disaster, a marvelous disaster, or a miraculous...
triumph.
Or like, it would be good. Like a miraculous mistake.
Yeah, probably that. Yeah. Like a miraculous mistake where you're like, that was pretty good. And like they'll never be able to hit it out of the park again.
Yeah, they'll never be able to accomplish whatever weird notes they hit on this time. And I'm thinking it might be somewhere between the miraculous mistake to the like the miraculous
train wreck.
But the thing is there's got to be no one out there has to be looking at any of this because none of the response whenever anything Power Rangers comes up is like, oh my god, this is going to be epic. It's more like, like, huh.
Yes, it is. Like, aside from the design of Reaper Repulsa, everything's been like, okay, and like head scratching, like, oh,
not like boo. It's just been like, huh. Is this good?
Even the first trailer, even the first trailer was very much that response where people were like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's like I don't know if I'm going to hate this.
The thing that still
think I do.
One thing that still like bothers the fuck out of me is that this is a huge like budget movie, right? Yeah. Like a AAA production, and like their poster is it's literally a stock photo you can find where they just photoshopped in one extra person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Yeah. I was just like, you guys did like principal photography for like 6 months. You couldn't have like shot something specifically for... That's fine, whatever. That's coming out March 24th, 2017. I'm hoping for a miraculous disaster, or a miraculous mistake, but it'll more likely be a miraculous disaster.
Well, did you see the leaks of the red dinosaur so that we knew what the design looked like?
No.
Because someone leaked out the toy.
Oh,
which is exactly the same as what it's going to look like in the movie.
Yeah.
So it is completely a dinosaur. Like, it's
That's cool.
Very much a dinosaur. And it doesn't... It's not as scary or organic or weird looking as Alpha 5.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how they're going to make dinosaur robots like into their humanoid gritty reality that they seem to have built, right? Like, and how them transforming together and unifying to make a giant robot to fight other giant monsters. Like, you did it with Pacific Rim. But they didn't transform. They were just giant robots.
They were just giant robots.
Yeah, like, this is dinosaurs that turn into a, like, I'm curious.
Oh, I really wanted them to embrace the silliness. I'd really love to see them, like, pounce, like point their power belt, like, at the screen with the two hands, and it's morphin' time. I'd love to see something like that. Yeah. But that probably won't happen.
What about the posing? Because I remember they always did the, like, posing.
Yeah, I kind of want that. Yeah. Like,
I want one moment where the team all transforms together, does the morphin' time thing, and then they all...
Yeah, they do some weird pose. Yeah,
and they finish with the pose because the girl had the pose where she did like the two fingers, and then she put one leg up, and she was like, "Ooh!"
Right? She did. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whoever was the tiger, the yellow ranger, she did the tiger stance thing.
Yep.
Like that.
I can't believe you remember that. Yeah. I'm not remembering it as you're saying, but like I couldn't. If you asked me, like gun to my head, I'd be shot dead.
And what about the weapons too? We haven't seen that because each one had a different weapon. Like the black ranger, who was the black guy, which is like.
A little on the nose.
Like, who's going to be the Black Ranger? And it's the black guy just standing in the corner.
They all just turn. Yeah, they all just turn to him really slowly. He had a battle axe, which was sick.
Yeah, it was turned into like a gun.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like you took it and rotated the blade down, it became like a
wow, that got way too real. Yeah. Like the Green Ranger's knife is just a flip.
Yeah.
It's almost into a gun. It's a little too serious. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. Really looking forward to that.
What did the Yellow Ranger have? Or the Pink Ranger? Yeah, she had size.
Yeah.
And the Pink Ranger had a bow and arrow. Yeah. And
bow and arrow.
Yeah, and Blue had a staff.
Did Blue get a staff?
Did he have a staff?
Is that it? Probably. That sounds stupid enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was like the wiener. And Red Ranger obviously had like a sword or something. Short sword. Okay. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. In theaters, May 5th, 2017.
It's looking
fantastic. We just saw a trailer the other day. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Baby Groot is awesome, obviously. Mm-hmm. Drax had a really good moment.
Drax had some great moments, which I even put together the second time I watched the trailer. Was he was jumping into the mouth of the giant monster?
Oh, and he was in it later.
When he's like stabbing the things. Like that's great. I'm glad they're playing up on the comedy of it a little bit too. So.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's going to be fantastic. I can't imagine like he's not going to knock it out of the park again. Honestly, really looking forward to that. Baby Groot, just like I love when he's yelling and just like chasing that guy down, just fucking throwing off the thing. Fantastic. I don't have any doubts about that movie. So yeah, nothing more to say about it.
I'm curious about seeing Ego the Living Planet as Kurt Russell.
So I've heard that we're not getting. This could be James Gunn just fucking with us. Mm. I've heard we're not getting Ego in his planet form.
Oh, no, I can believe that.
You think so?
Wait, in his planet form? Like, you mean...
yeah, we're not going to see him as a planet. We're just going to see him as...
Like, he's not going to have one at all.
He might have one, but we're never going to see it.
Okay, because, like, if he has one and we don't get to see it, or even if they just do, like, some sort of, like, cinematic pass-by of the planet or something, and he's just like, I'm part of this great universal organism, I'm okay with that. Because in the comic book, he does have humanoid emissaries he sends out.
Yeah.
So, if it's just one of his humanoid emissaries, I'm like, fine, whatever, that's cool, and just let me know that you're part of a giant living planet. But if they make him not a living planet, that's dumb.
No. I think he's still a living planet. I just don't think we get to see him.
Okay,
in that form.
That's fine.
No, it's not fine. And I want a fucking, like, Teletubby-style baby son, but with, like, Kurt Russell's face on it. Fucking, how dare you not demand this? Okay, next up is Wonder Woman, June 2nd, 2017. We just had our little DC Universe talk in the prior segment.
But we've also said in previous podcasts that the latest trailer just nailed it for us.
Looks great.
I'm so excited for this.
But personally, I have been tricked twice now about that. So
that's true.
Mike only got tricked once, I believe.
Once.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I'm fingers crossed that one's going to be great.
I think it's going to be good. Gal Gadot looks good. Everyone thought she was, but
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
So I don't know anymore.
No, I feel like I was really excited after Civil War for Spider-Man. And then almost every piece of news that's coming after it, I've been a little more worried and a little more worried and a little more worried.
Like, just before this podcast, you started out and you're like, oh, by the way, they're saying that Iron Man's going to give him his glider thing.
Yeah, glider wingsuit or whatever.
Which, even in the comic books, whenever Spider-Man made wings for himself out of webbing, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, a little lame.
Yeah. Like, wasn't there a time where he used to always have webbing between his arm?
Yeah, he had, like, pit webs.
Yeah, but they didn't make him glide.
No, it was just like a cool thing.
Yeah. But there was one of the Spider-Man comic books. He talked about like him making his webbing and all the things he could make with it. And there was one where he was sculpting a figure of Mary Jane out of his webbing, which was like a bit like, okay, that's a kind of precise. Like this is just spraying.
How are you doing that
in a massive web, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like showing. You've seen this before. Like he made a baseball bat, like a hard baseball bat,
yes,
that he swings and stuff like other things like that. And I'm like, all right, we'll go with that.
Even in some of the games, I'm pretty sure he's made like I don't want to say fists out of web. Yeah. When he's made like a instantaneous like massive webbing he's hit someone with and stuff.
I'm kind of down. I'm like, all right, I can get a little bit there. And then in one of the other ones, he shows him and he's like made like full like underarm bat wings that stretch out and he's like floating and flapping with
I think this one's going to look a lot more like a squirrel suit, like a gliding squirrel suit like kind of thing. But apparently the trailer there was a trailer aired in Brazil for a crowd of fans at like Brazil Comic Con or something.
Yeah.
And it unanimously positive reception, like overwhelmingly so. So interested to see the first trailer. Help quell some of my fears. I still think Vulture is kind of a lame villain. Mm-hmm. I would have preferred like Mysterio or Kraven or Venom or Carnage, but whatever. I'm not in charge of these movies. Never will be. That's coming out July 7th, 2017. Looking forward to it.
I was still curious. Blue Ranger does get a double-ended spear thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. That also turns into two things. That's also a gun.
This next one is Blade Runner 2049.
which we have like nothing about.
We don't know a lot about it. No. It's supposed to come out the 6th of October in 2017.
But the right people are on the project, the right idea is there, the right script is there. Like all of the hints about what it's going to be sounds like it's the recipe for what is correct.
So the writers are Philip K. Dick, obviously.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott is in again for Heart of It again, so that's amazing. Harrison Ford is involved in some fashion. We're going to get the answers.
Oh, it's the director of Arrival. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Sicario. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, like, he's a fantastic director.
He's a fantastic director. He's on the right guy. He's on the right project. I saw Sicario, was like, okay, I get it. He's like Oscar kind of guy. And then I was like, they're like, oh, he's going to be the director for Blade Runner. And I was like, that's kind of maybe. And then Arrival, I'm like, fucking done.
Yeah.
Just like, let's go.
This has an interesting cast. I forgot that Jared Leto and Gosling were on this.
Yeah. So it's going to be neat. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to our first little bit of it.
Look of it. Yeah.
All right. The next up, at May 19th, 2017. These are out of order. I apologize. Alien Covenant. This could go anywhere. Again, we talked about this, I believe, last podcast. One of the last podcasts, so we're not going to delve too much into it. But look, I don't think Prometheus is as bad as people say it is. You know what I mean?
It's bad.
Okay, I personally don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It's a lot of that hyperbole shit where people are like, it's the worst thing ever or it's the best thing ever. No. And I'm like, it's like somewhere
in between. Movie.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's terrible, but...
No, it's not It's not a hot piece of trash, but it's not a good movie.
No. And this one, I just really hope he's learned from his mistakes, and I hope Alien brand can be big again, personally, but...
Well, we've discussed this in the last podcast, and it's really the best way to sum it up is, this movie could wipe out the chance of us having Ripley's story finished off and Neil Blomkamp's film from coming out ever if this becomes a long-running franchise like he's trying to make it into again. But if it's an amazing film and they make more amazing films, then maybe that's a good idea, and it's great and we can run with that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The case? I don't know.
We should really only hope for the best.
Nothing about the production or the ideas behind this sound exciting or interesting or alien.
I really hate... And this is not a confirmed thing, but it's supposed to star Ripley's mother.
Yeah.
And Ripley's mother dealing with the aliens. And there's never been any sort of hint at all that there was
any connection.
She was like, I'm looking for my mother. In the Alien Isolation game, it's Ripley's daughter.
Yeah.
And she's going back to what happened to my mother? And she runs into aliens. And it's that makes sense, sure.
Yeah.
I hate this tying everything in together. Fucking bothers me.
And making the entire Ripley line about that. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it also weakens and dissolves Ellen Ripley. Because it was her first encounter and then her survival instincts that made her kick ass, and then it was her motherly instincts from being a mother and losing her daughter and going out there to face her own fears that made her this rocking kick ass bitch for the second one, which sort of at the end of the day continued into the third one, and the fourth one doesn't exist.
Fourth one's better than the third one.
We'll save this.
Ron Perlman is in the fourth one.
I have spoken.
Resurrection. He has that badass scene where they're climbing up and he does the thing where he leans back and he's like, ah! There's also a good scene where Ron Perlman there's a spider and it's in foreground and then the depth of field changes and he just shoots the spider.
Yes. Right after the lecture about stop shooting your guns near the hull.
Also, Joss Whedon directed the fourth one.
Yes.
That she doesn't like to remember.
Yes. He.
Yeah. Yeah, what did I say?
You said she.
I meant to say he, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, God. The only thing in that movie I liked was them animating the aliens swimming
that was
snakes.
Cool.
That was very fucking cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, even Ripley flaming her clones, that was a pretty,
that was a good
iconic scene, you know what I mean? There was
and I even kind of liked the idea of cloning her and having, being part alien now, it was always going to be incorporated as part of her. That was neat. And then, when she got out, and then she just shot one right in the face right afterwards, and she was like shooting her own kind, and she's like, it was in my way. She's in that mentality. An alien wouldn't care about whether or not it kills something, right? So it's this weird line that's broken.
I like to show the intelligence of the aliens in that movie. There's a lot of good concepts in that movie. I think it's not
amazing
executed
concepts, but then the moment they're newborn and she has sex with a fucking queen and.
Yeah, that was all a little too much to take in as a kid.
Yeah.
3 was less entertaining for me as a kid, obviously.
But at the same time, they made the alien come out of a dog, which means it took on the dog stuff.
No. There's, again, cool stuff in 3, but again, not well executed. There's a good cut of 3.
There's a good cut of 3, actually.
Which was strange. David Fincher worked on that movie. The Fight Club guy and the Gone Girl guy.
Yeah.
And the Social? Jesse Eisenberg man guy.
Did you just have a stroke?
I forgot what it was called. What's that called? Social Network?
I guess.
Yeah, whatever that movie is. Yeah, and he went on to go to direct good things. So did Joss Whedon. Yeah. So whatever. Maybe
everyone gets bad starts.
Yeah, maybe Ridley Scott will eventually direct a good movie again.
Although he's doing Blade Runner and Aliens again. He's coming back. He's like, I fucked up everything, so now I'm going to go back to what I did good.
Yeah, like no disrespect to Ridley Scott. He's obviously
he's an extremely talented man. Like,
Thor Ragnarok.
I'm really excited for this. Like the one movie you and I in the beginning when we first heard about it were like, how can Thor ever come back again? Why are we still talking about Thor?
Yeah.
And then this comes, and admittedly they've made it now into Hulk, Planet Hulk featuring Thor.
Yes.
But I'm still excited about all the components. I want to see Hela. I want to see Thor again. I kind of wish that Loki would get killed eventually because I'm really tired of him. The whole anti-hero bullshit doesn't. Anyways. And then, I want to see Hulk. I want to see the road trip together. Like, I'm interested in all.
Absolutely, I'm really interested in this one, despite not having any interest in the last two.
Yeah.
Although reluctantly watching them at some point. That's coming out November 3rd, 2017. So still quite a ways for that one, actually.
Yeah.
This one looks great. Surprisingly, March 10th, 2017. We're getting Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
I think this looks like a lot of fun.
It's gonna be fun.
John Goodman is also in this movie, which is great. Actually, there's a lot of cool actors in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
The guy who plays Loki.
Yep.
Tom Hiddleston. The dude from Step Brothers. Not Will Ferrell, the other one.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, I guess you haven't seen the newest trailer.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. He's totally in it.
And Samuel Jackson.
Sammy J.
Yeah.
This one looks like a lot of fun, and this looks like what I wished Godzilla would have been. You know?
Well, that this Kong is going to fight that Godzilla.
Yes! Yeah. Yes! Yeah. Yes, I want to see them hit each other. I always want to see them I want to see the ape crawling around Godzilla like a monkey, and just like beating his chest and like punching him in the eye and shit.
So clearly I have to see this movie with Cal.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's all I want. This could be a piece of shit. As long as they nail Godzilla versus Kong, like, I don't really care. Because even the Godzilla movie, I really didn't care for up until the final 10 minutes when, spoiler alert, Godzilla finally shows up and he, like, just rips the thing's jaw open and, like, breathes fire down his fucking throat. That was dope as hell. Bryan Cranston was pretty good until he died.
Well, that was the thing. That movie would have been fine, and you probably wouldn't have cared that there wasn't enough Godzilla in the first film if Bryan Cranston just kind of continued out over the whole thing. Killing him seemed so anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was dumb and weird.
And his son is the worst human being ever, so, like...
Yeah, and, like, the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch weren't great in that movie, really, either. It's not their fault. It was a script, obviously. I also really didn't enjoy the fact that they kept treating Godzilla like he was, like, the alien from Alien 1, where it was, like, you know, the Alien one's like, you barely ever see it until the very end.
Yeah.
Like, Godzilla is a giant... That made sense in Alien. In this one, they kept, like, cutting away from Godzilla, like, at the very end.
That's playing up on...
I don't give a fuck if it's like the Japanese movies, Mike. I just saw Pacific Rim where giant robots were hitting giant lizards. I want to see a giant lizard hit shit.
We're passionate about this.
I'm very passionate about giant things hitting each other. And when you promise that and then don't give it, like, a door's closing and you finally saw, like, Godzilla, he's like, and I was like, no! Why do you close? And then it's back to fucking Weepy Mick Quicksilver.
Yes.
Yeah, that was all shitty. I'm sorry, Watson. I'm getting real amped up here. I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't know. I like those movies, but I don't know. For this one, for Skull Kong
Gillen.
Gong is Kong Kong. For
Kong Skull Island.
Skong Kong Highland. That's what they're trying to...
Skong Kong Highland.
For Kong Skull Island. I find it interesting. I mean, it's part of the source material is that they're going for like all the other monsters that are on there. So
yes,
like,
there's a bunch of fauna on there too, which is cool.
So like, because like that's from the original source material that like this whole entire island is filled with shit. But like, there's the weird tunneling monsters and other.
There was like a giant yak with a bunch of like shit on its horns.
There was some amazing monster designs in that entire trailer, but I'm interested in going that way because they tried that with the crappy. Lord of the Rings director version.
Oh, yeah. King Kong by Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
Yes.
You know.
There was that weird scene where, like, a maggot was on Adrian Brody. Yeah. Or whatever. Like, fuck out. Jack Black was, like, the heart of that movie somehow.
Yeah. That was weird. Like, you had the bug scene and everything like that. And it was like a weird bug that, like
I enjoyed that movie when it came out, but I literally never watched it again, so I don't know.
It actually gives, it makes you more upset the second time.
I remember people like complaining.
But I'm curious about like that monster part of it was going to take away the steam from the King Kong, because I get it, giant ape, and that's very cool, and especially to you.
But you know how it can make it really cool is if like all these fucking like yaks and shit are like a threat to them.
We need to like put
and then he
you
comes
on
in,
the team.
and then he comes in and he just like takes a yak and just like takes it by both its horns, just knees it in half, just breaks its skull and just like starts flinging shit around. Fucking the guy from Step Brothers, what's his name? Dr. Steve Brule, just fucking like cracks his neck open and drinks him. Like whatever, like just make him a fucking threat. Have him grab a plane out of the sky and just like crush it like a cigarette right into Samuel L. Jackson. We gotta keep John Goodman alive for any potential sequels, obviously. You can't kill him.
You know he's dying right away.
No, I don't think right away. But he does seem like he's kind of the evil man, so he probably will die.
Yes. His death is inevitable.
Yeah, I got a lot of ideas for guerrillas fighting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we gotta put you in charge of these movies.
They wouldn't listen to me. All my ideas are too cool. Okay.
Your passion will come across it. I'll be like, yes!
Yeah, I get excited when giant things do stuff. That is like literally my brain. Like, simple thoughts. All right, Beauty and the Beast is next.
Monsters, tentacles, giant things do stuff.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast, March 17th, 2017. Beauty and the Beast is going to be probably a faithful adaptation of the animated classic.
Or
it looks exactly like it's going to be, right?
Yeah, a faithful reproduction. Which some people are like, it looks just like the film. And I'm like, wait, were you saying it didn't look enough like it before? And now it does, and you're like, it's not. But I'm like,
people will never be happy.
What story are you going to tell?
If they changed it too much, people would bitch and whine, and now it's the same. People are like, I already saw this. And it's like, well, it's not for you. It's for a new generation of Disney fans. And I think that's great. I think that, new kids can...
I'm excited. I'm excited to, like, rent it. I'm not going to run to the theaters for this in any fashion.
Yeah, I doubt I will, but... I will probably watch it at some point. I bet it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, like, Cinderella was, like, Cinderella. Yay.
Jungle Book, you said you liked, right?
Jungle Book, yeah, it was good. I liked it, but I'm not, like, booking it out for this stuff.
The Mummy, June 9th, 2017. We saw a trailer for this. It looked like a Tom Cruise action movie.
It looked like Mission Impossible up until a zombie showed up.
Yeah, until a mummy showed up, apparently.
Mummy showed up, yeah. But I liked the intro to it, because, like, it started off and it had this kind of neat, kind of creepy vibe, and, like, weird cursed shit, like the mummy stuff started happening, and then, he dies in the plane, and then comes back, and you're like, oh, I thought something neat was coming from this. Maybe the mummy was him, or who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's like, let's take this in each direction. And then it's just a girl going, ah!
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And then, of course, the line didn't make any sense, because he's like, I've seen her, she's real. But the scene right beforehand is her standing in a crowded street going, bah, while, like, she summoned a dust storm.
I'm sure that's, like, near the end of the movie. Yeah. Like, that was probably all over the place. That looks like a action movie with an inconsequential mummy. Like a Tom Cruise action movie where there's a mummy over there.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it.
It's going to be that, too. Like, he's going to be, like, doing some ridiculous stunt.
He's running at this fucking screen like Tom Cruise do.
Yeah. He's just running. Get away from me, gay thoughts.
I still, again, it's really funny to me that Dracula Untold is now not canon.
Yeah.
They tried to start their universe with Dracula Untold to make a Universal Monsters cinematic universe, because everything's got to be a cinematic universe these days. And the first one, they're just like, nah.
No, we fucked that.
No, bro.
That's real good.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah. Sorry. Can you imagine? Yeah, like all of a sudden they're like, Iron Man 2? Doesn't count. It tickles me that like they're just like, no, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Of course not. Imagine a band played their first song.
Well, they
like,
kind of have.
There's like, and the guy's like, oh, it sounds like the kid from The Simpsons, like, sir. And they're like, oh, that doesn't count, though.
That wasn't our intro.
Yeah, that wasn't our intro. It's like, no, it was. You did. You fucked up.
But we did do that. We already did that with the fucking Marvel films when the Hulk movies did happen. But
Hulk is canon.
Yeah, but they never address it.
Well, actually, we talked about this earlier, but I forgot. The man from The Incredible Hulk, Edward Norton one, the mustache man.
Yeah.
General whatever his fuck.
Yeah.
He's in Civil War. Same guy.
Is it actually the same?
Yes.
I thought they just changed his name and made him a new general.
No. He moved up. He's the same general.
How is he so accepting of a bunch of superpowered people in front of him when he's chasing the fucking Hulk?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's like hates them. He becomes a Red Hulk at some point.
And also, the Hulk was just now sitting like at that table probably a couple of weeks ago, or even let's say longer, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And he's been like chasing this thing down. It killed like all the soldiers, and then he's just like sitting at the table, and he'd be like, "Yo,
Well, it's like 6 years ago now. At this point,
he's just gotten over it.
He had to move on professionally. He wants to keep his job. Yeah, The Mummy. That's
a film.
That's a film. I won't go see it probably.
No.
Maybe I'll catch it when it comes out. Blu-ray or something. Logan coming out March 3rd, 2017. A lot of stuff in March.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in March. That was an excellent trailer, mainly because they had a Nine Inch Nails song that was covered by Johnny Cash. But
what I've learned about Hollywood recently is there's a lot of really good trailer editors.
They're really good trailer editors.
So it's almost like we can't trust the trailers.
No, and that's the thing. If this film is run like anything of the other X-Men universe stuff, it could turn out to be a hot piece of trash.
Yes, and Wolverine does not have the best solo.
No.
Track record.
No. But this is Hugh Jackman's last run. The concept is really cool. I didn't want X-23 to be the one to show up, but of course everyone was right. She did.
I mean, they need another Wolverine, right?
Yeah, but they're even planning it out now that X-23 is in this post-apocalyptic world where there's no mutants.
Although, I don't really get how they're going to continue forward with this.
No.
There's some time travel bullshit where she goes back in time, ages up to 18, and then all of a sudden is part of the team or something,
No, that's the thing. So it's where the fuck does your this is again so much fucked up timeline stuff with the X-Men. So who knows what happens with the fucking X-23?
But yeah, it would be nice if Hugh Jackman could go out on a strong note,
Yeah, and it looks like the right recipe.
It does.
Yeah.
And we don't have to wait long to see it. So
no.
Next, Ghost in the Shell, March 29th, 2017. Is that right? That's France's release date. But I mean, it's got to be soon after that, right? Sorry, I'm going to click around a little bit here. March 31st, 2017. That's soon, Mike. That's soon.
Yeah, you didn't.
My God, no! I thought it was like a year from now.
No, God,
that's why they were showing because they kept doing weird, fucked up things in this movie. They were like, "Here's 6 seconds of Scarlett Johansson," and you're like,
"Yeah, it was a weird fucking."
And she was like, system. "Ghost in the," and it was ended. And you're like, "Oh, okay."
So they catch her off fucking guard.
Yeah,
she's just sitting eating her lunch or something, and the camera's on her. Hey, Scarlett, what? What's your movie? Ghost in the?
It was shit like that where you're like, Is this? I'm like, I guess they just want to show a little bit off the movie.
Yeah.
We finally got that dope ass trailer though, so
it's all very, very, very strangely, which is also weird. Loyal to exactly scene by scene from the actual anime film, the first one.
Yeah, and I've seen Ghost in the Shell, but so long ago, I barely remember anything. I'm kind of wanting to watch it again before it comes out. So
it's very slow, but it's very good. But that geisha robot in the very beginning with wonderful design and greatly creepy.
My God, they really nailed the visuals of this movie.
The creepy cyber future of Ghost in the Shell. Totally nailed it. And then the way it crawl on the floor and it freaked out because that's all about the robots that are going insane and shit that she shoots them.
Yep.
Wonderfully done, excellently executed scenes and stuff like that. Even had the invisible cloak thing she does, and then she doesn't. In the anime, she roundhouses him in the head, and it's one of the best roundhouses ever, animated. It's just such a great scene to watch, and instead she's uppercutting him. And I'm like, well, maybe Scarlett Johansson can't. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've watched this woman, do a quadruple backflip, even if it was a stunt person, and, so I'm like, why did you make them punt? Anyways, whatever.
To be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, just looking beautiful, looking great, totally excited.
I'm really excited now that I know it's coming out in fucking March. Holy shit. It looks really cool. I'm hoping... Mike, we might have our first good live-action anime on our
Which
hands.
might kick off us getting the rest of them.
Yeah, we might get Akira, might get...
Attack on Titan for real.
Finally get a live-action Naruto.
Ew.
Naruto, I believe! Is that what he says in the American version? I think it's something like that. Something stupid. I don't know what he says.
Yeah.
The Dark Tower.
Actually, they could do a really good Naruto movie based on just the first arc.
What do you think, Michael Cera as Naruto? That'd not be good.
So good. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That'd be pretty good.
Oh
pretty
my
dope.
God. It'd be so good. There's so much there.
Jonah Hill is Rock Lee.
Oh. No.
Tilda Swinton is that Sandman kid.
Sandman kid? Okay. Actually.
Gara.
But the first arc, right when they do the whole battle on the bridge thing, and that intro, that little portion right there is an excellent piece of anime, and one of the better written portions from that group of men who do Naruto. It would be kind of a cool movie to do, but the rest of it could. I mean, I like the rest up to a certain point, but just fucking no.
Nerd is something I know like bits and pieces about. I've never really known what the entire thing.
Yeah, but there's some other deeper iconic stuff. Macross, Gundam.
Gundam.
Yeah, we can keep going down the list of some other great iconics. Can you imagine they started doing Ghibli live action shit?
Ooh,
because we get to there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they do, they did Jungle Book justice, right? Like, could they pull off like a Howl's Moving Castle or
but like
Spirited Away?
Spirited Away.
If you get the right visual flair, I bet you could.
You have to get the best child actor you've ever known to do that film.
Michael Cera. All right. The Dark Tower is coming out July 28th, 2017. I don't know a ton about Dark Tower. I've always wanted to read it. I'm a fan of Stephen King's work. Not all of it, obviously, but like there are a lot of my favorite books are actually his. So
yeah, he's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of lamps.
He has a lot of lamp monsters, and he even writes under like different pen names too, where like it's a whole different series by this like fake author name and shit. He writes so much.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, like he does. Yeah, like how does he not run out of ideas?
I don't know.
Anyways, Dark Tower is like one of his
great series. He has a very long running big series.
Yeah, it's his magnum opus. He's called it, and I don't even know if it's over yet. This is something that struck me as because it is so many long and so many books or whatever. I always kind of thought this would be like an HBO show or something.
I always thought it would have been better in that context because now it's going to be like a 6-movie fucking franchise, and if this doesn't work out...
I'm sure they're hoping it will be.
Yeah. If this doesn't work out, and it's hard content to translate. I'm not going to spoil anything, go into any story about it, because it's strange. The Dark Tower stuff has a huge fan base, but it's very culty and very close-knit. So a lot of the information about what the Dark Tower isn't really like out there in a common populace. When you ask someone what it is, they're all like, I don't know, just Stephen King, something cool. But that whole entire world is going to be very interesting to see if they can communicate it correctly.
It's always sounded really interesting to me from someone who's like looking at it from afar. Yeah. I'm like, I'd like to be a part of your world.
I read the first book, and then just did wiki lore updates because I just wasn't in the spot to read, and I just kind of kept myself up with what was happening in the world as I kept on picking it up. It's an interesting world, really good. I think it's going to be neat. We haven't seen anything. We've
seen like 2 like screenshot things of Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba.
Yeah.
2 fantastic actors too, so who knows? Yeah. Oh god, they're doing World War Z too?
Yeah.
Okay. Kingsman: The Golden Circle is coming out October 6th, 2017. That's a long time to wait. I'm a huge fan of the first movie.
I liked the movie when I first saw it, but I had no bonding. One of the greatest action sequences ever done in film, period.
Yeah, really cool.
Like the church killing everybody thing. Like that was just amazing.
Colin Firth was awesome.
Colin Firth was awesome, and then they kill him, and you're like, eh.
So the only thing we know about Kingsman: The Golden Circle is that Colin Firth is probably coming back.
Okay, so he didn't die.
So he didn't die, because the only teaser poster they have out right now is a picture of just my reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, and a pair of eyeglasses with one frame gone. So I've watched that movie a couple times to re-look at that scene to see if there's blood in that scene. So maybe they shot him just through the eye, and he pretended to be dead long enough for Samuel J's character to leave. So he, it looks like he died. I kept trying to look at it are they gonna fucking bring him back? But looks like they're gonna bring him back. But that's great because he was the heart of that movie too.
Yes,
I loved so many parts.
That's the thing, when he left and he was no longer the mentor to this kid, and I was just like, well, the kid hasn't actually learned enough to go be a suave secret agent, and he takes off, and I'm just kind of like, I don't have faith in you. I mean, he obviously is going to win at the end of the day, but I just didn't feel my faith to be like, you're going to kick ass, and he just does, and I'm like, oh, okay. So there was a disconnect for me, but I rewatched it recently just to make sure that I wasn't just doing the initial response kind of review. And
it seems like you don't like things a lot on your first watch, but then when you rewatch them, you're like, okay, you recalibrated your expectations.
I'm also highly critical the first time through because I'm also analyzing so many components, like storyboarding, visual setup, conceptual design, and then costume design, and then. Character incorporation with that into I'm breaking down visual storytelling right away, and most movies that win me and make me wash that out are the ones that do it really quickly. So some people kind of had to rewatch Star Wars to get back into it. Regular first they're like, oh, it's just a New Hope over again. And I'm like, really, that's kind of what we wanted, so it's okay. When I was watching that movie and it first started off, I was being so highly critical, but in the moment, that fucking insane visual design just was like, I was in the world, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, whatever, I'm down. right?
Star Wars.
Yeah. So some movies do that to me, some don't, and that's just my visual.
Actually, you know something not on this list that I didn't see, but Star Wars. The next one should be. Oh, there it is, right there. Never mind. Episode 8. Episode 8.
Yeah, that's next year.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 8.
Yeah, everyone's just generally excited for that.
Yeah, I'll probably go see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I know that man. He's been on a planet, I guess.
We've been over his lack of knowledge. I think last week we described.
Is he recreating Yoda?
Yoga?
Is he recreating what Yoda did?
He's just on that planet. He's just been doing yoga for the last 25 years.
Did he sequester himself on this planet? What's he doing? What's he up to? What's he shitting in? I don't know.
That's the thing. On a bunch of rock planets too, with like no food in the middle of an island. I don't care if he's a Jedi. Like every time he needs to eat, he just has to like grimace out into the distance, and something like this rat's like over the ocean.
This poor rat. Get a movie about the journey of the rat. All right. Next up is War for the Planet of the Apes happening.
I just got this visual. Like, the rat's walking around, is walking with his little rat wife and his little rat kids and stuff, and they're just, like, having a day. It's like a nature documentary, and they're like, and the rat is feeding its family. And then suddenly the father's just like, just flies off into the distance.
You're good at making shit. Yeah, like David Attenborough's like, and the rat flew off into the sky. We don't know where he went.
It's become feed for a local Jedi.
See, and I was picturing more like it was a story of like the rat, not like a nature documentary. Like the rat's just like he's sitting there with his wife and kids who are doing his thing, and he's like, Martha, I feel it. The midichlorians, they're taking me. Tell the children.
Out the window.
Yeah, and just like crashes through, and then it's like in his mind, like it's a 45-minute movie, but like kind of like a short film.
Yeah.
Just like and the only visual is this rat flying through the fucking sky. Sometimes they change the camera angle, depends, and it's just his like monotone, like his life is flashing before his eyes, but it's going. He has to go so far.
Yeah.
It's still like he's like. I have a short rat life. Like, I've gone over all my memories.
I think I have about 4 minutes of them.
And then as soon as it gets to Luke, he's just batting. He bats it back into the ocean, cracks his back in two. All right. Next up is War for the Planet of the Apes, July 14th, 2017.
This is your thing, not my thing at all.
Yeah, man, I can't find another person who likes these movies. I swear to God. And I don't, but like they seem pretty popular. They keep making
popular.
them.
Yeah, Judd loved them.
Oh, okay, all right. Someone else likes them. I really enjoyed both of them. I thought the first one was good. I thought the second one was even better.
But you and monkeys. You're like that person we make fun of in cartoons, where you're like the guy who thinks monkeys are the greatest. Like
yeah, it's true. Like
Peter
they
Griffin,
randomly say like,
and he's like, "There's a monkey in here, and we are going to throw our soft stool at each other." Like you're that guy,
dude. The last one had a fucking shot of an ape riding a horse, jumping through fire, and he had 2 AK-47s that he was firing into the air. Tell me that's not like the greatest like achievement in cinematic history. Like it was fucking fantastic, and they tell a great story too, especially the second one.
They tell deep stories.
Like they tell a great story about Caesar, and like I just I don't know. It's just surprising to me that like you don't like them, or I just can't find someone who likes them. My roommate used to like them too. That's all I have.
Yeah.
But War of the Planet of the Apes, I'm very excited for it. No one else is. Be alone in the theater.
I'm also like, it's one of those franchises where it's like I think like originally the first story was like this was happened and the monkeys won. You know the result. So.
Yeah, but don't you want to see James Franco be sad at the result?
No.
I sure as hell do. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Andy Serkis is still playing a monkey. Good for him.
Good for him.
And last on our list, November 16th, 2017, The Justice League.
Oh. I have no way of holding on to that last grasp of faith on this movie.
Mike, what do you think the odds are that Wonder Woman is like pretty good, but Justice League still ends up being horrible?
100%.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Zack Snyder?
Zack Snyder. Huge raw problem. So Wonder Woman's turning out to be good because it's a huge female superhero, one of the first.
It's the first. Isn't that crazy? It's like, oh, I mean, we had the Catwoman movie back in like 2005 or something with Halle Berry.
That movie kind of ruined her.
Then we had Elektra. Like, it's not the first. Like, to be fair, it's not the first like woman superhero, but in the new era, since superhero movies have been good, it is the first female led superhero movie.
Yeah, and it's another piece of that, which is directed by a woman, written by a largely female team, and a lot of the production, blah blah blah, female, which is like to the core. It's like Deadpool, where they got all the Deadpool fans and Ryan Reynolds in to make Deadpool, and like basically got a bunch of Amazonians together to make an Amazonian movie. A great core from that, from directors who could probably take this off in the right direction, and they're investing into it because they have to understand that if they fuck up Wonder Woman, they will destroy the DCU.
Like,
just
it's just
ruin
like,
it.
Come see the movie where everyone who isn't any good,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, like this. So like they put their eggs into that basket, but the thing is it's also someone different because all of the bad DC movies are coming from directors who aren't really actually that good at their jobs.
David Ayer, the guy who directed Suicide Squad, directed like an Oscar-winning film before that.
No, nothing. I didn't think it deserved it. So
sure, it's generally regarded as a good movie. I've never seen it. It's just interesting that like they took someone who did good things, and Suicide Squad came out of it. Zack Snyder before this was mostly doing good things. 300 people like 300. That's the thing. I think we've been over this. Zack Snyder is good when he has like reference material to work from. And now that he has so many, it's like when he had 300, he had like a certain amount of panels. And he's like, I can do this. And then they laid out like fucking 70 years of Batman in front of him, and he's like, I can't do this.
The panic attack.
He just took like 50 different like, comics.
He's like, just do this and this one and this one, and I'll be in my trailer. Slams the door. So what do we do for the Batman stuff? He kills things. Just go away.
He's murderous. He's murderous rampage.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
No, but the thing is like, so that's the context for it. Is that like with Zack Snyder and 300 and stuff, he had Frank Miller's very refined vision to follow, and he followed it to a T because his team that was with him on that and his company focused him down into being focused on that movie to make it into a Frank Miller, because they saw Sin City. They wanted to follow along with that kind of like follow Frank Miller's T's and dot his I's, right? And like once you break him outside of that, you've seen him in other things. Once you let him kind of go rampant, because they're like, oh, it's like the fucking Star Wars guy. Give him too much free reign, and he's just suddenly like, he's just like, it's a talking fish, he just goes insane. David Ayer, again, the same thing is he has a skill and a craft that he can perform, and it is more in the dramatic and more in the.
I feel that it sounds like David Ayer kind of got fucked on production time. It sounded like he didn't have a lot of time to prepare. It's true. But again, can you also imagine? Let's say they like, you're on Suicide Squad, and he's like, great. When did we start? He's like, they already started. And he's like, oh, okay. And they throw those. Earlier today, I showed Mike some like unused Joker and Harley Quinn concepts. Imagine they threw that, and he's like, oh. Fuck, I gotta work with this!
Like, where do I go with this?
Yeah, like, that can't be easy.
No, but the thing is, like, he's really good in that part, and then they threw him into a really weird action film, which is not something he's normally used to doing, which is a bad choice, which brings me to why these movies are sucking, right? Which is why Jeff Johns is going to be an amazing addition, is that, like you said, either bad production time, weird people assigned into writing, or bad script issues, strange casting decisions, and just based on money. The corporation behind the DCU has been influencing and operating all of these movies and throwing directors who shouldn't be there for these kind of films. They're just like, oh, that's a big name director. He makes lots of money for this, so he'll be in that movie and he'll make us more money. He made an Oscar. That obviously makes this movie. So bad decisions, bad directors, people in the wrong jobs. And then, if you look at Wonder Woman, it was kind of funny, actually. It's the scared of vagina thing. They're like, Wonder Woman, the vaginas should take care of this.
Put all the women on. God.
They're like, too many vaginas. Just put them all in one spot.
Let's put them in that corner.
Yeah. So, like, they kind of left it to them and left them to control it, and understood that like this franchise needed to be hands off, right, for this one movie, which was the only one of the original stuff before Jeff Johns got involved that really kind of had that, that kind of management. But now with Justice League, it's the last film left. Even though Jeff Johns may have touched it, don't know if he can save it. I
think, again, and we've hammered this point home, I think on other podcasts, I don't want to belabor the point too much, is that I still think DC got the wrong message from all the criticism from Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad. They somehow got from all the criticism, like, oh, it should be funnier. It should be a lighter tone. And, like, that's not the problem. No. The problem is your fundamental, like, storytelling and, like, script writing skills. Like, we're artists, right? Imagine if someone, like, handed you, like, a really well-inked drawing, but it was, like, drawn like super horribly, like the arms were all too long and the fucking nub for legs, and he's like, I'm a realistic man, and you're like, you didn't, you inked it real well, and that's fine, but like, you know.
Yeah. It's like when a student hands me work and they've like rendered the shit out of it. Like they're meticulous, like everything's rendered beautifully, but it's completely anatomically incorrect. And I'm like, you know how hard it is now to go back and fix this?
Yeah.
You know, and that's basically what it is for these guys. These directors show up and the thing is so badly fucked up. They're like, I've got like some glue and a hammer, but like I'll do my best, but like at the end of the day, I'm just tearing new holes.
It's a polishing a turd, right? Like, and that's a shame. Yeah. And that's everything that we found for 2017 to look forward to. I'm sure there'll be more.
Yeah. Apparently also a few we didn't look forward to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know we did a couple spoiler casts this year. We actually did quite a few, technically. But there was ones I definitely wanted to do one for Civil War, but our schedules didn't match up and shit. Next year I would like to do ones for all the big movies. Like, you know,
I'm down. And no one goes to the theater with me, so...
Yeah. So me and Mike will go to the theater more often, and we'll go see like things like Kong Skull Island.
Yeah. And you guys like the spoiler cast, so I've seen the results, so...
Yeah. I think that's it. So... Is this the week before New Year's, or is this Christmas week? Happy holiday Christmas, everybody!
Happy holiday Christmas, everybody!
Enjoy the Saint Nick and the Krampus and everything. Go watch Krampus. That's a fantastic movie that came out last year.
And Gremlins.
Oh yeah, go watch Gremlins. Go watch Home Alone.
Yeah. Oh, Home Alone. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, go watch Home Alone. Fuck, go watch the Die Hard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're doing a great list. You listen to us.
Never Christmas. Go watch all the classics. Goodbye.